Chapter 2246. When she said this, her voice paused for a moment. Fatty Master immediately continued. Today's matter is due to our lack of teaching. In the coming month, I guarantee that today's matter will not happen again. As for the three masters, Yiqing Luo did not have any complaints. After all, Devil class was an outsider class. Class of gods was specially selected by them and nurtured till today. Their feelings were naturally different. It was natural for them to help the class of gods. Previously she used Ghost Doctor's name to get close to Master Yi. It was because she wanted to have a good training and not let any other messy things happen that would affect her mood and the special training. For example, what had happened now. But she didn't expect that when she mentioned Ghost Doctor, it would implicate even more things. Today, if it wasn't for Ghost Doctor's personal appearance, she would probably be annoyed to death. What's more, she might have to use Ghost Doctor's name to cheat behind the back of that scheming bitch. In order to ensure that the next month's special training would be peaceful, they would leave after it ended. Yiqing Luo expressed that all the germination must be nipped off today. Master Yi placed his hand on Ghost Doctor's shoulder. Old man Ghost Doctor, let's go and let this group of students think it through themselves. Let's go have a drink. Ghost Doctor slapped his hand away without giving him any face. His malicious eyes swept coldly across Master Yi. Old Yi, from what you said earlier, it seems like you had already assumed that my disciple was lying to you. Master Yi felt a chill down his spine as beads of sweat started to form on his forehead. Ghost Doctor, this is not right of you. After all, this is the class of gods. If a student comes and says that she is your disciple and I believe it, wouldn't the class of gods be in a mess? Ghost Doctor's lips twitched eerily. My disciple's temperament, this innate talent. She completely said that she is my disciple. How is that not like my disciple? You can't even tell. And you have the cheek to say that you are my close friend for many years? Master Yi expressed that he was deliberately making things difficult for her. Although Yiqing Luo's aura and innate talent were indeed eye-catching. But it didn't mean that he could tell that she was Ghost Doctor's disciple. Master Yi knew that Ghost Doctor's words were to help his disciple vent her anger. He had indeed misunderstood that Yiqing Luo was the kind of young lady who used Ghost Doctor's reputation to cheat others. This was the truth and there was no way to explain it. He had yet to think of an excuse. A rough and loud male voice rang out. Yes. How can you still have the face to say that you are close friends with that damn old man? He even said that our little girl used extreme methods to gain a foothold in the class of gods? How dare you make such a guess? This voice caused everyone to tremble. The group of people looked in the direction of the sound. Then he saw an old man dressed in a white robe rushing over like the wind. The old man was different from the Ghost Doctor's meticulousness. He had dry hair that seemed to be combed neatly, but was actually a mess. His white robe hung loosely on his body, and his expression was ferocious like a crazy old man. He rushed to Yiqing Luo's side and stretched out his hand to hug her. Yiqing Luo almost couldn't breathe. Teacher Shenqing looked at the person in shock and stammered, Sir Guiyu. My lord? The students sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of person could make Teacher Shenqing, who had always been lazy and did not care about anything, to be so respectful and even be called lord? When they heard the two words Guiyu, the other two teachers' expressions changed immediately. Sir Guiyu. Chapter 2247. Master Guiyu. Why are you here? Master Yi swallowed his saliva as he looked at Guiyu and Yiqing Luo in disbelief. They had heard of it before. Guiyu was eyeing Ghost Doctor's disciple. Today they saw the scene. They deeply understood that those words were not fake. Guiyu valued Yiqing Luo very much. What magic did this young lady called Yiqing Luo have? She actually made Ghost Doctor and Guiyu these two old men who would never fancy anyone and wanted to take anyone as their disciple, to protect her so passionately. Of course, the three masters didn't deny it. Yiqing Luo's current performance was indeed outstanding, even more outstanding than the students in the class of gods that they had painstakingly taught. But at this level, Ghost Doctor and Guiyu shouldn't be so protective of her, right? Moreover, the Ghost Doctor and the Ghost Doctor, these two seniors, were present. It was natural for Yiqing Luo to be so outstanding. Guiyu snorted as he glanced at the three masters with a cold smile. He could tell what they were thinking at one glance. He smiled coldly as his shriveled lips twitched. I heard that my last Luo suffered a grievance when she came to the class of gods for special training. If I didn't come, wouldn't my last Luo die of grievance? Master Yi and Fat Master broke out in cold sweat. The students in the class of gods also straightened their backs. Yi Qing Luo wanted to raise her hand several times, weakly expressing that even if they didn't come, she wouldn't let herself suffer. But seeing old man Guiyu's protective look, Yi Qing Luo smiled warmly. Right now she was no longer alone. She had someone who would protect her. She wasn't fighting alone. I heard that this student feels that last Luo is using my reputation to stay in the class of gods. Ghost Doctor's malicious gaze swept towards Yenyu. Yenyu, who was sprawled on the ground, felt as though she had been targeted by a venomous snake. She shivered and didn't dare to say a word. Seeing this, Mr. E hurriedly explained, "Please don't be angry, sirs. This is a misunderstanding. As you know, the students of the other classes have always yearned for the class of gods. They've been thinking of ways to squeeze into it. Our last Luo is in the devil class, not any other class." Old man Guiyu did not have much patience. If Luo wanted to enter the class of gods, she would have been qualified to do so not long after she entered the academy. The students of the class of gods were shocked. He had just been admitted to the hospital, and he already had the qualifications? How was this possible? Even if old man Yu wanted to stand up for Yi Qing Luo, there was no need to use such a method, right? He had boasted too much. It was obvious that he was bragging. One had to know that students like them had all been selected through layers of selection. Their aptitudes and talents were outstanding, and they were above average people in every aspect. It had taken them almost 2 years to successfully enter the class of gods. The Ghost Doctor's cold gaze swept over them. Her voice was cold, but powerful. Whether or not the lass really has the qualifications to enter the class of gods, I'm sure the 3 elders can go to the elders department, or you can ask the faculty council's president. See, you'll know. Last Luo refused to enter the class of gods because of her brothers and the group of children in the class of devils. But I feel that Luo Yu was right to reject me back then. If Luo Yu was allowed to grow up in this kind of atmosphere, how could our last Luo have such a metamorphosis now? Old man Guiyu had never thought of giving others face when he spoke. Master Yi was too ashamed to show his face, but there was nothing he could refute. They all knew. Chapter 2248. If he wanted to end this situation, he could only start from Yi Qing Luo. Teacher Yi turned his gaze to Yi Qing Luo and chuckled. Student Yi Qing Luo, I am also responsible for the misunderstanding. The students from the class of gods were rude to the devil class, and I can't get away from it. All these are my fault. I assure you that there will not be a next time. His attitude was very sincere and sincere. It wasn't that he was trying to protect the students and push all the blame onto himself. He had indeed realized that as a teacher, he had not taught his students well, and under the circumstances where there was no evidence, he had accused the foreign students of cheating. Yi Qing Luo actually admired Teacher Yi's way of doing things. Even if Teacher Yi wanted to protect the students from the class of gods, it was reasonable. The students from the class of gods to Teacher Yi was equivalent to her to Ghost Doctor and Guiyu. It was human nature to protect one's shortcomings. Of course, Yi Qing Luo understood that it was human nature, but it didn't mean that she would let this matter rest just because of Teacher Yi's plea. She had said that in order to have a good and quiet training in the class of gods for the next 1 month, she had to nip off all the sprouts that had yet to grow. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Today she would be more arrogant and troublesome. It would be much easier in the future. Teacher Yi, from your point of view, it's normal for you to suspect my identity and motive. Yi Qing Luo smiled sweetly. Her eyes were sparkling and filled with tranquil ripples. Under the calm gaze of that pair of eyes, Teacher Yi felt cold sweat trickling down his back for no reason. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. But how can you be 100% sure that they will not target the devil class? Saying that, Yi Qing Luo pointed towards the direction of the students from the class of gods. Because of the arrival of Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, The students who had originally wanted to give up in the training forest rushed over with the help of their classmates. Yiqing Luo's finger pointed at the entire class of gods, 16 students. Teacher Yi was stunned. The other 2 teachers were also slightly stunned and immediately looked away, unable to be sure. The students from the class of gods were taught by them. The teachers naturally understood their temperaments. If it was really because of Gui Yu and the ghost doctor that these students would not go against the devil class, this was absolutely impossible. Where I can see it, they can make sure. But they couldn't guarantee that these students wouldn't secretly take revenge on the devil class. They understood the arrogance of the class of gods. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved into a smile. Teacher, I don't have any intention to make things difficult for you. I just simply hope that our devil class's special training is just a special training, without any other factors. Not only will it affect the progress of our special training, it will also affect the class of God, isn't it? Teacher Yi was rendered speechless by his words. He wiped off the sweat on his forehead. What student Yiqing Luo said is right. The students in the class of gods also think so. Special training is special training. This is the ladder to raise one's own ability. Disrupting the special training is also disrupting themselves. Teacher Yi's words were a clear attempt to reason with the students of the class of gods. The students of the class of gods were all very perceptive, and immediately replied in unison, "We promise we will coexist peacefully with the devil class." Chapter 2249. Immediately, a student echoed. That's right, student Yiqing Luo. We are very clear on how important the special training is to us. We admit that although we aren't particularly passionate about the devil class, we don't have any intention to purposely target you. There were also a few students from the class of God who wanted to say, before the ghost doctor and Gui Yu appeared. They didn't put the devil class in their eyes at all, and were totally disdainful, so they purposely played with the devil class. After that, he followed Yen Yu's words and condemned the devil class. They were merely misled by someone with ulterior motives. Yiqing Luo didn't make things difficult for those students. She had no interest in taking advantage of her position to bully others. She only wanted to bully the weak. Yiqing Luo went along with those students' evasive words as she gave a long, "oh," and intentionally dragged out the ending sound. That "oh" shocked everyone and gave them goosebumps. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she gave an indifferent smile. As what all the students have said then. I'm even more curious. Why is student Yen Yu so dissatisfied with me? Everyone turned to look at Yen Yu in unison. Yen Yu only felt that everyone's gaze was like a burning fire, burning her whole body. She stared furiously at Yiqing Luo. It was all because of Yiqing Luo. It's all because of this slut. He had caused her to experience such a predicament. In the class of gods, she might not be the most outstanding student. Nevertheless, he was Teacher Yi's favorite student. Moreover, her beauty made her even more popular among the people. How could she become so embarrassing? It was all Yiqing Luo's fault. The more he thought, the more Yen Yu's hatred towards Yiqing Luo grew. This was hatred. Even the onlookers who were standing at the side could see it clearly. The ghost doctor and old man Yu snorted coldly. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo holding them back, the both of them would have rushed up and slapped that scum who dared to glare at their Luo lass to death. Teacher Yi's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. Yen Yu's talent was great, and she was also smart. He had always thought highly of this student. Who would have thought that he would become so stupid today? In front of Ghost Doctor and Gui Yu, he still dared to show such an expression towards Yiqing Luo? Yen Yu. Teacher Yi gritted his teeth and shouted out Yen Yu's name. Answer me properly. Previously, did you know student Yiqing Luo? That roar caused Yen Yu to suddenly return to his senses. She pursed her pale lips and shook her head. I don't know him. Then why have you repeatedly targeted Yiqing Luo? Teacher Yi's brows knitted tightly. Yen Yu clenched her fists, but loosened them weakly. I didn't target. Bullshit. Old man Gui Yu spat. Just from the way you look at our Luo girl, I want to slap you to death. Do you think I'm blind? Not targeted yet. If you don't tell me the truth, I'll kill you right now. Yen Yu was so scared that he started trembling. Her eyes reddened and tears welled up in her eyes. However, Her pitiful appearance did not arouse anyone's sympathy or pity. Yin, just get straight to the point. What kind of grudge do you and student Yiqing Luo have? Don't hold up all the students because of your own matters. Exactly. We've run for 50 kilometers, and now we just want to rest, alright? Just because of your jealousy, you have to drag the entire class to stand here with you. We're not blind. We can all tell that you and student Yiqing Luo have a huge grudge. I'm also curious, is it really because you're jealous that student Yiqing Luo is prettier than you, so you've been targeting her? Chapter 2250. Class of God students couldn't help but tried to persuade her. They had been running for an entire afternoon and were tired, thirsty and hungry. They couldn't wait to return to their own rooms to rest. But because of Yenyu's problem, they were stuck at the training ground. The grumbles and complaints in their hearts were dragged on. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it. Yiqing Luo didn't even bother about being slandered. She only wanted to know the truth. She wanted to know why Yenyu was targeting her. Yenyu still didn't say anything, pretending to be pitiful. The more they looked, the more anxious they got. Yenyu bit her lower lip hard. Blood seeped out from her pale lips. She didn't seem to notice it. Why did all the students come to condemn her? It was obviously Yiqing Luo's fault. It was obviously Yiqing Luo who was creating trouble out of nothing. Why were they still blaming her? Was it because that slut had great abilities and had 2 big backers? She was not convinced. Student Yenyu is unwilling to answer. Why not let me guess? Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she slowly walked towards Yenyu. Yiqing Luo's steps were elegant and imposing. Yenyu was so shocked that her body trembled even more violently. Yiqing Luo stared at her trembling petite body as she tilted her head and smiled. Student Yenyu, are you feeling guilty? I haven't done anything and you're so afraid? Yenyu bit her lips and didn't refute. May I ask the students in Class of God, how is student Yenyu and that student Zi Qianqian's relationship? Yiqing Luo didn't beat around the bush and directly asked a question. When the 3 words Zi Qianqian came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth, Yenyu's eyes flickered a few times. The expression on her face was slightly shocked. The other students couldn't wait to end this, so naturally they didn't hide anything. Yenyu is Zi Qianqian's cousin, and the 2 sisters have a very good relationship. They usually love to stick together, and Yenyu loves Zi Qianqian very much. Student Zi Qianqian loves to go to the lower class, I heard. She's also known as the #1 beauty in Heavenly Academy, Fairy Qianqian? Right, I remember she even joined a mercenary group. I heard this time, it seems to be Yenyu's idea for Zi Qianqian to take part in the Heavenly Academy's annual interclass competition. The students were all talking at once. At this point, they seemed to have realized something, and their jaws dropped in shock. Right, the interclass competition. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had ruthlessly abused Zi Qianqian in the interclass competition? Zi Qianqian had yet to return to the Class of Gods. So, Yenyu was helping Zi Qianqian vent her anger? Yiqing Luo heard the answer she wanted to know from those noisy and messy voices. As she nodded her head in understanding, student Yenyu is really a good sister. Yenyu's face turned pale. She curled her fingers and lowered her head. Her messy hair covered her face. It also covered up the hatred on her face. If it's because of Zi Qianqian, I think I should explain. Yiqing Luo looked at Yenyu smilingly. But student Yenyu's love for your own sister is so deep. I don't know if you can take it, what I'm going to say next. Yenyu suddenly raised his head. Chapter 2251. She died because of me? Yiqing Luo was amused as she repeated this sentence. How Zi Qianqian died, the entire Heavenly Academy's students know it clearly. Your master must have received the news too. Yenyu looked at her casual smile and the anger in his eyes burned even more. Yes. Qianqian wasn't killed by you, but you caused her death. If it wasn't for you, Qianqian wouldn't have died. Yenyu's hoarse voice made Yiqing Luo laugh. She finally understood why Yenyu hated her. So it was to stand up for his cousin sister. And the other students in the Class of God had a change of expression when they heard these words. Zi Qianqian is dead. Isn't she doing well in the school? How could she be dead? Yanyu was killed by Yi Qingluo? What's going on? The surroundings were bustling with discussion about Zi Qianqian's death. Hearing the news of Zi Qianqian's death from the crowd, Yanyu's facial features turned more and more sinister. Silence. Seeing this, Teacher Yi immediately roared coldly. What are you guys making a ruckus for? The students quietened down. Teacher Yi took a look at Yanyu and sighed. Yanyu, I already know about Qianqian's death. Yanyu's scarlet eyes stared at Teacher Yi. You also want to say that this is Qianqian's fault? This was the first time Teacher Yi saw Yanyu disregarding his image. He frowned slightly and turned his gaze to Yi Qingluo. They indeed knew about Zi Qianqian's death, but they had not expected that the female hero who exposed Zi Qianqian's collaboration with the dark forces and saved the students of the various academies was actually this 15-year-old young lady. Zi Qianqian and Yanyu's relationship was very close. As teachers, they could see it clearly. He expressed his understanding for Yanyu to lose control. But Teacher Yi sighed again. Although Qianqian's death is related to Yi Qingluo, but it is true that she deserved to die and no one can be blamed for it. He paused and his face turned solemn. If it was me, I would make the same decision as Yi Qingluo. That's a student you taught yourself. Yanyu roared. It's precisely because she's my student that I can't let her go down the wrong path. Since you're wrong, you should be punished. Teacher Yi knitted his brows tightly. Looking at Yanyu's obviously insane appearance, he sternly stopped her from roaring and retorting. Yanyu, you're a smart student and you should be able to differentiate between right and wrong. If you insist on blaming Zi Qianqian's mistake and implicate Yi Qingluo, then I can only send you to High Profound Class 2. Yanyu's face was pale as he knelt on the ground in a daze. Send him to High Profound Class 2? The meaning was kick her out of the class of gods? She wasn't wrong. She just wanted to seek justice for her sister. Qianqian was killed by Yi Qingluo. Why was she the one to be punished in the end? For Yi Qingluo. Teacher Yi actually wanted to chase her out of the class of gods? That bitch. Yanyu. Seeing the growing hatred in Yanyu's eyes, Teacher Yi was exasperated. Did she really want to go to High Profound Class 2? Even now, he still couldn't figure out the problem. Chapter 2252. Teacher Yi's body stiffened slightly. This? Lord Guiyu, it's not that Yanyu didn't realize her mistake, but she cared too much about Zi Qianqian. I have eyes. I'm not a fool either. Old man Guiyu sneered. Oldie, don't say that I didn't give you face. It's your student who didn't care about face. I know. Teacher Yi was also very anxious, but Yanyu's heart was clouded by hatred at this time. The ghost doctor, who had been silent and emitting an icy aura, glanced at Yanyu with a sinister gaze, before shifting his gaze away. He moved his lips, his voice cold and dignified. Zi Qianqian. This student called Yanyu as targeting little Luo because of Zi Qianqian, that traitor of the Nirvana realm? Perhaps the ghost doctor's voice was too cold. Perhaps Zi Qianqian's name had stimulated Yanyu. Yanyu's crazed and ferocious face suddenly froze for a moment. She widened her eyes and looked at the ghost doctor. You're spouting nonsense. Yanyu. Teacher Yi threw a slap across the air. Yanyu felt a burning pain on her cheeks. Her entire body was thrown back a few steps by the impact of the xianqi. Her cheeks were swollen and blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. From this, it could be seen how much strength was used in that slap. Yanyu's hands trembled as she touched her cheeks. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she fixed her gaze on Teacher Yi. Teacher Yi clenched the hand he used to slap her, gritting his teeth in warning. However, Yanyu could not see the guilt and pain in Teacher Yi's eyes. In her eyes, Yanyu only felt that Teacher Yi had slapped himself because of Yi Qingluo. Everything was that slut Yi Qingluo's fault. Yi Qingluo, that vixen, had seduced Teacher Yi, who had always doted on her. Teacher Yi was stunned by Yanyu's hateful gaze. He slapped her. It was to stop her from being rude to the ghost doctor. If he allowed her to insult the ghost doctor, what awaited her wasn't just a simple slap on the face. However, Yanyu didn't understand. Teacher Yi's heart sank. He thought that his student, who he thought to be exceptionally intelligent, was actually so stupid. It was really their teacher's failure. As a result, the students didn't even understand the simple principles of being human. What did the ghost doctor just say? Nirvana Realm's traitor? Zi Qianqian? What's going on? Zi Qianqian is a traitor of the Nirvana Realm? I think I've heard something incredible. What's going on? Why did Yin Yu say that Zi Qianqian was killed by Yi Qing Luo? But the ghost doctor said that Zi Qianqian is a traitor of the Nirvana Realm? The attention of the students of the class of gods was drawn to the ghost doctor's words. As for Zi Qianqian, the students of the class of gods didn't have any special feelings for her. The only feeling he had was that he had approached Zi Qianqian in order to build a relationship with Yin Yu. Because Zi Qianqian was not considered a top student in the class of gods. In every test of the class of gods, he was always ranked at the bottom. Moreover, Zi Qianqian liked to run around the lower classes. Now that they heard the news of Zi Qianqian's death, they didn't have any special feelings. The only feeling they had was shock. The ghost doctor's voice was cold. Yes, Zi Qianqian colluded with the dark forces and attempted to kill all the elite students of the various academies in the Nirvana realm. Dark forces. Chapter 2253. Although they weren't very interested in anything outside of the class of gods. However, he more or less knew about the news that the Western continent had almost been destroyed some time ago. The West continent had been annexed by the Dark Forces and the Three Springs sect in an attempt to invade the West continent. Zi Qianqian actually colluded with the Dark Forces? Could it be that Zi Qianqian also wanted to invade the Western continent? Although they were going to ascend to the upper realm in the future. However, they were the only ones who ascended to the immortal realm. Nirvana realm. West continent was still their home. Their loved ones were here. Yin Yu looked at the ghost doctor in horror, as though he had not expected that the ghost doctor who had always hated trouble would actually speak up for Yi Qing Luo, clarifying that she had not caused Zi Qianqian's death. Yin Yu knew that the students of the class of gods didn't know much about the outside world. So he was thinking that while Yi Qing Luo was still in the class of gods, he would slowly make everyone think that it was Yi Qing Luo who was jealous of Zi Qianqian and caused his death. This way, she would be able to avenge Zi Qianqian openly. He did not expect that the ghost doctor would reveal the cause of Zi Qianqian's death. Who was the ghost doctor? Even the headmaster, whom they respected him so much. His words were extremely authoritative. Who wouldn't believe it? Because of Zi Qianqian, she killed a total of 52 students from the Wind Vein Academy. The ghost doctor enunciated each and every word extremely clearly. Because of Zi Qianqian, all the students of the academy almost died in the blaze nest. After that, the Luo girl captured Zi Qianqian and handed him over to the headquarters for punishment. The faces of the students of the class of gods paled. The ghost doctor's cold gaze swept towards Yin Yu. Student Yin Yu, do you think that last Luo was wrong to hand over Zi Qianqian, that traitor, that murderer to the general hospital? Yin Yu's body trembled. The students of the class of gods were speechless. If it was them, they would also hand Zi Qianqian over to the headquarters. It wasn't like they hadn't killed anyone before. But 52 lives were taken, and they were the lives of students from other academies. Zi Qianqian was actually so ruthless. It was only natural for the General Institute to execute Zi Qianqian. This indeed couldn't be blamed on Yi Qing Luo. You are. Yin Yu still wanted to struggle. The ghost doctor had already interrupted Yin Yu's words with a cold sneer. If you don't believe me, you can go back to your clan and ask your relatives. I'm sure they'll tell you in more detail. Yin Yu's body slumped to the ground. Zi Qianqian clearly deserved to die. As students of the class of gods, how dare you collude with other factions to kill students from other schools? Isn't this just bringing shame to our class? Yin Yu, what face do you have to blame Zi Qianqian's death on Yi Qing Luo? 52 lives. He even wanted to kill all the university students from all the schools. Even if she dies, she won't be able to repay those 52 lives. The students of the class of gods began to berate Yin Yu. Even Yi Luo did not have the face to speak for Yin Yu. It could be said that ever since the ghost doctor and Gui Yu appeared, Yin Yu no longer had the slightest advantage. On the training ground, The momentum was already one-sided. Teacher E bore with the pain as he shut his eyes. Yanyu has disobeyed his superiors and has slandered the new devil class several times. Deduct 2 months of resources and lock him up in the confinement room for a month, then send him to high profound class 2. The students of the class of gods were all stunned. The berating voices stopped abruptly. Chapter 2254. This punishment. Wasn't it a little too harsh? One must know that the students who were chased out of class of gods, no matter how outstanding their innate talents were, once they went to the lower class, they would be ridiculed by all the students. But on second thoughts, Yanyu couldn't figure out the situation. For Zi Qianqian, he found trouble with Yi Qing Luo. If this matter was spread out, it would only make people link Zi Qianqian and the class of gods together. By then, the divine image which the class of gods had painstakingly built up would be destroyed in one day. They must not let Yanyu affect the reputation of their class of gods. Immediately, those shocked students restrained their expressions, and no one spoke up to plead for Yanyu. Iluo's expression froze in the crowd. If Yanyu left class of gods, what would happen to her? She had always been Yanyu's follower. She had suffered so much injustice. How could she just watch as Yanyu left? Teacher Yi Yan. Iluo bit her lower lip, trying to plead for Yanyu, but she heard old man Guiyu's rough voice from the side. Just let her go to high profound class 2? What kind of punishment is this? Oldie, do you really think I'm easy to fool just because I haven't been in charge for so many years? Teacher Yi hurriedly explained. Master Guiyu, I'm not. You're not. Yanyu kept saying that she wanted to seek revenge for that traitor Zi Qianqian. I have the right to suspect that Yanyu had long known that Zi Qianqian was colluding with the dark forces? Otherwise, why did she feel that Zi Qianqian colluded with the dark forces? Was a very normal thing? Old man Guiyu rudely interrupted Teacher Yi's words. Following that, he stared fiercely at Yanyu. Furthermore, I feel that this Yanyu is also part of the dark forces. Old man Guiyu's voice was very loud and rough. The moment he roared, the entire sky above the training ground reverberated with Old man Guiyu's voice. The students of class of gods were first stunned by Old man Guiyu's domineering manner. Following that, they looked at Yanyu in horror. They all took a step back in unison, afraid that Yanyu's matter would implicate them. How would Iluo dare to continue pleading for Yanyu? If she continued to plead, she might be labeled as an accomplice of the dark forces. Yanyu was also frightened out of his wits by old man Guiyu's words. He immediately hugged his head and shook his head while crying. I didn't. I'm not. I'm not from the underground forces. I don't know. I didn't. Teacher Yi also felt a chill down his spine. Master Guiyu, this can't be. Yanyu rarely leaves the class of God. How? It doesn't matter if it's possible or not. I think we should arrest Yanyu first and send him to the headquarters for investigation. Old man Guiyu said impatiently. Send him to the general hospital for investigation. Not only would he be kicked out of the class of gods, he would be severely punished. Once he was sent to the headquarters, he would be investigated to see if he was related to the underworld forces. Yanyu's reputation wasn't the only thing affected, and House Yan's reputation. In the end, they found out that Yanyu had nothing to do with the underground forces. However, this black mark would follow Yanyu and House Yan for the rest of their lives. Old man Guiyu was obviously going to destroy Yanyu. The students of the class of gods couldn't help but secretly sigh in relief. He could offend anyone but not Yi Qing Luo. Fortunately, they didn't target Yi Qing Luo because they didn't want to deal with the lower class. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones now. Chapter 2255. Teacher Yi's body stiffened. He forced a smile and said, Lord Guiyu is right, I have no objections. Yanyu looked at Teacher Yi in disbelief. He had actually really given up on her? He was actually not pleading for her anymore? Sending her to the general hospital was the same as destroying her life. Since there are no objections, then it's decided. Old man Guiyu waved his hand, and a hemp rope flew out from his sleeve. The hemp rope coiled around Yanyu's body like a snake. Yanyu was tightly bound by the hemp rope. Yin Yu cried out in pain. His limbs were bound by the hemp rope, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably. Her face contorted in disgust. There was also an extremely pungent smell coming from the hemp rope. Master Guiyu, where did you get the rope? You even brought along a hemp rope? Yi Qingluo looked at Yin Yu's expression and knew how strong the smell of that hemp rope was. She purposely asked Old Man Guiyu. Old Man Guiyu did not think much of it. I came in a hurry and could only pull a rope from the horse dung to rush over. Whoever bullied you, I will use the horse dung rope to whip him to death. Yi Qingluo burst out laughing. No wonder he was Guiyu. Take hemp rope out of horse dung. He could even think of such a method. The faces of the students from the class of gods darkened when they heard that it was hemp rope in horse dung. Another female student clutched her chest and ran to the side to vomit. Yin Yu's expression turned even uglier. She kept retching, and her body kept struggling, trying to break free from this disgusting hemp rope. But how could she easily untie the hemp rope tied by Old Man Guiyu? Sirs, I will personally escort student Yin Yu to the dean, and the dean will send someone to escort student Yin Yu to the headquarters. Teacher Shenqing, who had been silent all this while, spoke up. At this moment, he no longer had his usual lazy expression on his face. Shenqing slowly walked to Yin Yu's side. Today, the students carried weights for 50 kilometers. They must be tired. Go back and rest. The students of the class of gods subconsciously looked at the ghost doctor and Guiyu. Seeing that none of them spoke, only then did he say tentatively, "Then we'll go back first." Shenqing nodded. The ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu still did not speak. Only then did the students carefully prepare to leave. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from the entrance of the training ground. What's going on? How could a physical training cause such a big commotion? The students of the class of gods bowed respectfully. Teacher Bai. And a headmaster? Yi Qingluo looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a charming beauty walking over gracefully. The headmaster's robes on the woman had been modified to accentuate her figure. The places that should be protruding were protruding, the places that should be thin were thin, and the places that should be perky were perky. Bai Mei, why are you here? Shenqing frowned slightly. She had finally found a chance to let the students leave first. Why did Bai Mei come at this time? Bai Mei raised an eyebrow. Can't I come? She walked over and saw the ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu. She was surprised. Old Man Guiyu, ghost doctor? Yo, what kind of wind blew you two here? Why didn't you tell me in advance that you were coming? Are you trying to exclude me? The students of the class of gods were dumbfounded. Why did it seem like Teacher Bai and these two sirs had a close relationship? Yin Yu. Bai Mei noticed the tied-up Yin Yu who was sprawled on the ground. Chapter 2256. When Bai Mei heard this, she frowned and looked at Shenqing. What's going on? Shenqing shook her head. Zi Qianqian's death has agitated her. I'll bring her to the headmasters to calm down first. Zi Qianqian? Bai Mei's frown deepened. She pondered for a long time before she remembered. Are you talking about the girl who was executed by the general hospital? Didn't she die a long time ago? How did she provoke Yin Yu now? Shenqing lifted her eyelids and frowned at her, signaling her to shut up and stop talking. However, Old Man Guiyu could not bear to see that there was still someone who would save Yin Yu. He raised his voice and sneered. This student is certain that Zi Qianqian's death was caused by my Luo lass, and he is determined to find trouble with my Luo lass. Bai Mei seemed to have heard some big news. A shocked expression appeared on her beautiful face as she said, Your Luoer? Old Man Guiyu, don't tell me, are you in heat? The whole place was silent. Old Man Guiyu's face turned the color of pig liver. Bai Mei, what nonsense are you spouting? Teacher Yi stepped forward and grabbed Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei looked puzzled. Did I guess wrong? It was Old Man Guiyu himself who said something about his family. Teacher Yi tightened his grip on Bai Mei's wrist. Bai Mei fell silent. Old Man Guiyu's face was gloomy. To be able to make the hot-tempered and straightforward Old Man Guiyu so depressed. Obviously he was furious. Yi Qingluo stood by Ghost Doctor's side as her pink lips pulled into an arc, revealing a sliver of ridicule. Her long and narrow eyes stared unblinkingly at Bai Mei's innocent face. She couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. Did this elder Bai Mei really not know anything about this? Or was he pretending not to know? Did he say those words intentionally? Or was it just a casual remark? A deliberate joke? Yiqing Luo was leaning towards the former. After all, she was the teacher of the class of gods. Regarding what happened in the class of gods, how could she not know? Others might believe it, but she didn't. Under the silent situation, Yiqing Luo's laughter was especially abrupt. Almost everyone's vision shifted onto Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei's gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo's face. This student, what are you laughing at? Nothing much. I just admire Master Bai's imagination. Yiqing Luo smiled in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Bai Mei didn't seem to understand Yiqing Luo's words. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Master Bai, just based on the two words my home. You can imagine that wandering ghost teacher has a lover. Don't you have a big imagination? Bai Mei's expression froze. Yiqing Luo gave an extremely gentle smile as her voice also softened a little. Teacher Bai, it's fine if you say these words in front of your own people. But as a teacher, it's not appropriate for you to say these words in front of so many teenage boys and girls. Her voice was gentle. Her tone was gentle. And even her expression was gentle. However, it was obvious from her words that she was accusing Bai Mei of not being a qualified teacher. Bai Mei's face sunk. But Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice it. Master Guiyu is my brother's master. A master for a day. A father for life. Master Guiyu is naturally my family member. So in Master Guiyu's words, I am also his family member, and I am also his family member. Does Master Bai find this sentence ambiguous? Bai Mei's face was completely overcast. But old man Guiyu was so happy that he almost jumped 3 feet in joy. His Luo girl said he was family. His Luo girl said she was his family member. His Luo girl said she was his family member. Chapter 2257. Old man Guiyu was happy. But the ghost doctor refused to comply. He coldly glanced at old man Guiyu and sneered. Yes, a teacher for a day, a father for life. You are only the teacher of the little girl's brother. In terms of seniority, you are 1 level lower than me. I look down on you? Didn't you hear what little Luo said? I'm her family. Old man Guiyu was pissed. The ghost doctor laughed coldly again. But, I'm her Shifu, so I'm 1 level higher than you. You. Old man Guiyu glared at him. Speechless, old man Guiyu hugged Yiqing Luo's arm. Luo lass, you tell him, I am more important than him. Ghost doctor's brows creased when he saw that, but he went forward and held Yiqing Luo's wrist. The ghost doctor didn't say anything. But looking at his stance, it was obvious that he wanted to compete with old man Guiyu. Yiqing Luo. What kind of timing was this, and these two could still quarrel? The surrounding students. Did they see wrongly? Why were the two adults so childish? Bai Mei, who had a gloomy expression on her face, was completely ignored. Staring at the young girl sandwiched between Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, Bai Mei's expression became extremely complicated. Yen Yu, who was at the side, saw it clearly. Yen Yu secretly ridiculed Yiqing Luo in his heart, to actually go against Master Bai Mei, offending Master Bai Mei. Even if Yiqing Luo had Guiyu and Gui to treat her, Master Bai Mei would absolutely not show any mercy. As if noticing Yen Yu's gaze, Bai Mei suddenly turned to look at her. Coincidentally, his eyes met Yen Yu's. Okay, I said something wrong. I didn't pay attention to propriety. You two don't need to argue. It's very difficult for the little girl to be caught in the middle. Bai Mei adjusted the expression on her face and smiled to smooth things over. Old man Guiyu saw Yiqing Luo's lifeless look and quickly let go of her hand. The ghost doctor also let go. Yiqing Luo hugged her arms as she looked at the both of them. Master Ghost Doctor, Master Guiyu. Both of you are equally important in my heart, so can you not fight for it? If you continue to fight, you will only be able to split me into 2. They could not help but laugh. The scene became lively. Shunqing took the opportunity to say, Then I'll bring him to the dean first. Just as Shunqing was about to lift Yen Yu up, Bai Mei suddenly said, Wait. Shenqing paused. Even though Yan Yu caused trouble for this student because of Zi Qianqian, he didn't have to go so far as to send him to the principal. If the other classes found out, wouldn't they think that something big had happened in our class? Shenqing looked troubled. It's a long story. We can talk about it later. Don't disturb the student's rest. As he spoke, he picked up Yan Yu and prepared to leave. Yan Yu immediately wailed again. I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Yi Qing Luo, I apologize to you. Please don't chase me out of the class of gods. Master Bai, save me. Save me. Bai Mei looked at the struggling Yan Yu and felt a little pity for him. Following that, he turned to look at Yi Qing Luo. This. Student Yi Qing Luo, today is also your first day in the class of gods, and we will have to spend another month together. Harmony is the most important thing. Why must you bully others too much? Although Bai Mei's words sounded like she was pleading for Yan Yu, but no matter how one listened, it sounded like she was reprimanding Yi Qing Luo for taking advantage of her power to bully others. Bai Mei. The three masters immediately stopped Bai Mei. Chapter 2258. Bai Mei raised her chin slightly, almost as if she was giving orders. Student Yi Qing Luo, although you have Old Man Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor to back you up, but Master has to give you a piece of advice. Always leave a way out so that we can meet again in the future. No matter what you do, don't be too childish and go too far. As Yi Qing Luo listened on, she couldn't help but laugh. Women were really petty. Was Bai Mei taking revenge on him for mocking her for not being a qualified teacher? Yi Qing Luo's laughter made Bai Mei's expression congealed. Yi Qing Luo held down Old Man Gui Yu, who was about to go berserk, as she smiled at Bai Mei. Master Bai's imagination is indeed strong. From the start till the end, Master Ghost Doctor and Teacher Gui, you were using logic to convince others, but in Master Bai's mouth, it became a threat instead? She snickered. Without waiting for Bai Mei to retort, she continued. Teacher Bai is right. In the coming month, I still have to interact with the students of the class of God, so I need to remove all obstacles that stand between me and the class of God. Bai Mei's expression turned cold. Yi Qing Luo, are you trying to go against your superior? Then what Master Bai means is that you can use your identity as a master to insult me as you wish. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly, neither servile nor overbearing. What a glib tongue. Bai Mei gritted her teeth, looking displeased. Yi Qing Luo sneered. I'm just arguing for what's right. Enough, Bai Mei. Shenqing furrowed his brows. The matter had already passed, so why did Bai Mei want to stir up the flames of war again? Shenqing, don't try to persuade me. Bai Mei strode forward and arrived in front of Shenqing. She stretched out her hand and snatched Yan Yu, who was covered in the stench of horse dung. She lowered her head to look at Yan Yu, whose face was covered in tears, and said word by word. Today I will protect Yan Yu. Thank you, Master Bai. Thank you, Master Bai. Yan Yu was overjoyed. Bai Mei raised her head and glanced sideways at Yi Qing Luo. Student Yi Qing Luo, this is the class of gods. I hope that no matter what happens, everything will be settled in the class of gods. Bai Mei. Fatty Teacher and Teacher Yi growled in unison. Bai Mei's lips curled into a gorgeous smile as she glanced in the direction of Ghost Doctor and Old Man Yu. Both of you can rest assured, I will not let your girls suffer any grievances. After a pause, her smile became even more radiant. There was also a hint of arrogance. I've specially hired a helper to help me investigate this misunderstanding. Helper? The fat teacher's white eyebrows twitched. Did you also invite that person? Bai Mei raised her lips proudly, and her eyes were full of charm. If I ask, he will naturally help. The fat master's fat body trembled. Bai Mei, why did you? Of course, it's to let some students know that there is always someone better than you. Don't always think about bullying others. Bai Mei sneered and interrupted the fat teacher. Her expression suddenly changed, and her incomparably beautiful face instantly became extremely flirtatious. Every smile and frown was a seductive gesture. What a coincidence, that person is already here. Bai Mei's voice was soft and seductive. Then let's take this opportunity to let that person make a judgment on this matter. The expressions of the three masters froze. They saw Bai Mei was already jogging towards the entrance of the training ground. They immediately knelt down in that direction. This action made the students in the class of God stunned. Very quickly, they followed their own masters and knelt down. In the entire training ground, only the devil class, Old Man Yu and Ghost Doctor were still standing. At the training ground, a tall man slowly walked into the training ground. He walked against the light, and his face was hidden in the shadows, which couldn't be seen clearly. Chapter 2259. Gradually the man came closer. His long robe fluttered in the night wind, like rolling clouds. The moonlight poured down, as if it was plated with silver light. His black hair, which was not tied up, fluttered along with the man's footsteps. The glow of the luminous pearl shrouded that breathtakingly handsome face. A pair of peach blossom eyes that shone brighter than luminous pearls, as deep as the sea. The training ground fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched the approaching man. In a split second, even their breathing became extremely cautious. DMO Xian. Fat Teacher was the first to regain his senses, and immediately bowed to the man. Everyone else snapped back to reality, and bowed to the man in unison. Greetings, DMO Xian. The man stopped in front of them, expressionless. His deep black peach blossom eyes coldly swept across the group of people kneeling on the ground. Although he did not speak. However, the powerful aura emanating from his body was enough to make one's heart tremble. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. The three teachers knew that the DMO Xian had come to the class of gods in recent days. But they thought that the DMO Xian had not appeared. It was Bai Mei who greeted the DMO Xian, and that won. But they never expected that Bai Mei would actually invite the DMO Xian over. If the DMO Xian stood on Bai Mei's side, and protected Yenyu for her, even Ghost Doctor and Old Ghost Yu would have to give way. The three headmasters felt like dying. It was just a simple special training. How did it turn into such a situation? One by one, it was a rare sight, appearing here as if it was free. When the students of the class of God saw DMO Xian in person, all their fatigue, irritation and negative emotions disappeared without a trace. In their eyes, in their hearts, there was only DMO Xian. He was the legend of Nirvana realm. The palace lord of the Imperial Palace, the DMO Xian. Bai Mei took in everyone's expressions. Her coquettish face was filled with pride. She raised her eyebrows and walked towards DMO Xian. DMO Xian, I'm sorry. Before the devil class came, the atmosphere in the class of gods had always been very good. She explained to DMO Xian. There was only one meaning in his words. Today's farce was all caused by the devil class. DMO Xian's brows creased slightly as his deep eyes swept past the direction of the devil class. Finally, it landed on between the Ghost Doctor and Old Man Guiyu, on the beautiful girl dressed in red. No one knew if it was an illusion. Why was it so strange? It seemed that the coldness on His Majesty was gradually weakening. Bai Mei also noticed DMO Xian's gaze. Her heart tightened. A woman's intuition had always been terrifyingly accurate. She bit her lips and leaned her body closer to DMO Xian. Overlord, may Mayor be so bold as to hope that Overlord can uphold justice for Mayor, and return peace to class of gods. Bai Mei's actions could be said to be extremely explicit. The expressions of the three teachers were immediately awkward, and their faces were stiff. However, just as Bai Mei was about to approach him, DMO Xian had already turned sideways, avoiding Bai Mei's embrace. He glanced at Bai Mei indifferently, his thin lips moved slightly, and his voice was clear, like a bone-piercing cold wind. Teacher Bai Mei, please conduct yourself with dignity. Bai Mei's face stiffened. Chapter 2260. Bai Mei's face darkened as she stared angrily. Class of Gods students obediently knelt on the ground as they stared at DMO Xian. Their eyes filled with respect. It wasn't them. Bai Mei's face darkened. That pair of flirtatious expression instantly turned sinister, filled with hostility. Her gaze fell on the 10 people standing upright not too far away. Those 10 people, ever since the appearance of the Overlord, they had been standing at the same spot, not moving an inch. Their attention wasn't on the Overlord. Instead, they were staring at her. And there were 2 female students pointing at her, grinning from ear to ear. Obviously, those who laughed out loud were the students of devil class. Who allowed you to laugh? You even dare to make fun of master? Don't you know how to respect your teacher? Bai Mei clenched her fists as she rebuked sternly. Yan Xiaoyi and Dan Baishi looked at each other, laughing even louder. The other students of devil class looked at the two students and smiled helplessly, without any intention to stop them. Bai Mei was so angry that her whole body was trembling. You students without any morals. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. I want the director to give me an explanation. Yan Xiaoyi and Dan Baishi not only had no fear. On the contrary, they laughed even more wildly. Even the other students couldn't help but laugh. Good all of you. Students of the devil class. All of you want to rebel, right? Bai Mei's tender and beautiful face was somewhat sinister. The embarrassment of being rejected by DMO Xian was vented on the devil class. Bai Mei's feet moved as fast as lightning, nearing the devil class students. Her 5 fingers were like eagle claws, mercilessly pinching Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder. Go. I'm going to bring you to the director's office. You dare to touch her. Xiao Jin's expression congealed as he bellowed in rage. Just as Bai Mei's 5 fingers were about to lock onto Yan Xiaoyi, Xiao Jin suddenly embraced Yan Xiaoyi and pulled her into his embrace. He immediately raised his palm and struck towards Bai Mei's direction. Bai Mei didn't expect the students to retaliate, so she didn't pay attention. Xiao Jin's palm landed directly on Bai Mei's chest. This palm, Xiao Jin, was only used as a deterrent and didn't use much profound energy. Bai Mei was only forced to take a few steps back from the impact. But this was no longer a matter of using a few % of profound energy or suffering some kind of injury. Students of devil class, how dare he attack the headmaster? And in front of so many students, in front of His Majesty, where would she put her face? The expression on Bai Mei's face grew colder and more ferocious. Her fingers curled up stiffly. Suddenly she looked at the 3 teachers. Old E, Old Fatty, Old Shun. All of you have seen it with your own eyes. The devil class students openly attack teacher. Based on this alone, I have the right to order him to get out of the Heavenly Academy. The 3 headmasters' faces tightened. That was the only thing the Dizun had said since he had appeared. They had no idea what the Dizun was thinking. As for Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor, they didn't open their mouths, but stared straight at Yiqing Luo. Naturally, they did not dare to speak rashly. Bai Mei was the only one screaming hysterically in the quiet training ground. But no matter how much she roared, not a single person echoed her. Bai Mei had never been so embarrassed before, especially in front of DMO Xian. She clenched her fists tightly as she raised her hand again and grabbed towards Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's direction. A ray of profound light shot over. Bai Mei was on her guard as she quickly retreated backwards. Chapter 2261. The red-clothed girl held a red feather fan in her hand, gently waving it. Her eyes, which were as bright as stars, stared at Bai Mei with a faint smile. The young girl's face was extremely beautiful, and she had the temperament of a fairy. She was also as gorgeous and enchanting as a rose. Obviously, she was just a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. However, compared to Bai Mei, who was still charming, she was even more bewitching. This made Bai Mei's heart thump even more clearly. Yiqing Luo, are you trying to stand up for them? Bai Mei gritted her teeth and asked angrily. Stand up for me? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. Such a small matter. I don't need to stand up for you. Small matter? Bai Mei's anger surged. Yiqing Luo's words meant that Yiqing Luo totally didn't put her in her eyes? Yiqing Luo's lips curved upwards, revealing a sweet amorous feeling. I just have a few words to say to Master Bai. Bai Mei knew that those words were definitely not good words. How could she possibly allow Yiqing Luo to humiliate her? Bai Mei took a deep breath and adjusted the expression on her face. Following that, she turned her head with an aggrieved look and looked at DMO Xian. Overlord. Look at these devil class students. Speak. A cold word interrupted Bai Mei's affectedly coquettish voice. Bai Mei was startled. Her deliberate expression of grievance and amorous feelings froze on her face. But Dmo Xian's eyes weren't looking at Bai Mei. Instead, it fell onto Yiqing Luo without blinking. Apparently, the word which he spat out earlier was directed at Yiqing Luo. Say what? Bai Mei reacted abruptly as her pupils dilated, and looked at Dmo Xian in shock. Earlier Yiqing Luo said that she had something to say to Master Bai. Dmo Xian say meant. In other words, let Yiqing Luo say it? Lord Dizun. Bai Mei's throat tightened. She had never expected that the Lord Dizun, who had been so gentle in the past few days, would suddenly become so unreachable. She thought that she could rely on Dmo Xian's power to suppress the arrogant Yiqing Luo. Unexpectedly, Dmo Xian did not have the slightest intention to save her face. What was going on? Even if the overlord did not like her, but he would never embarrass her like this in front of others. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her charming eyes sparkled brilliantly, making eye contact with Dmo Xian. She smiled sweetly. Her bright smile was like a deadly poppy flower, peerlessly beautiful. First, as a teacher, Master Bai has no self-respect for seducing a man in front of so many students. I very much question whether Master Bai has the ability to be a teacher. Secondly, White Master failed to seduce a man, and was instead warned by the man to please conduct yourself. This was indeed an extremely ridiculous matter, wasn't it? Since Master Bai has shamelessly seduced the overlord in public, then it's only natural for my two sisters to laugh at you, isn't it? Two consecutive, isn't that so? Rhetorical questions, each one more forceful than the last. Bai Mei was so shocked that she couldn't even open her mouth to refute. Yiqing Luo raised her slender brows as the corners of her mouth twitched in disdain. Thirdly, Master Bai did not allow any explanation, and made a move on the students. Is he trying to use his identity as a teacher to suppress the students? If so, why can't my classmates retaliate in self-defense? Could it be that in the class of God, only the teachers are allowed to abuse the students, and the students can only silently accept it? No resistance? When Yiqing Luo's words fell. Chapter 2262. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. In that case, only Master Bai has such an idea? You. Bai Mei regained her senses, fuming with anger. Yiqing Luo, you are talking nonsense. Yiqing Luo snorted disdainfully. An old cow wants to eat young grass? Would the overlord fancy you? And even try to seduce him? Where's your shame? She dragged out the last syllable. Oh, I forgot. You are already shameless. Where's your shame? Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei was so angry that her eyes turned black and her body trembled uncontrollably. An old cow eating young grass? Yiqing Luo actually scolded her for eating young grass. Was she old? How was she old? She was obviously skilled and able to serve the overlord better. What's more, they were cultivators of profound qi. There was no difference in age at all right. If they were to go to the upper realm, any 12 or 13-year-old child could very possibly be a senior who had been cultivating for hundreds of years. The overlord doesn't fancy me? Don't tell me he likes you? Look at that foxy look of yours. Your eyes are glued to the overlord. How dare you make fun of me? Bai Mei was so angry that she blurted out. Yiqing Luo smiled instead of getting angry. She tilted her head and smiled sweetly. That's right, the overlord doesn't like an old cow like you. He likes people like me who are pure and untainted, pure and innocent, beautiful and young little beauties. Devil class students. Qing Luo, where's your shame? Where's your shame? For the sake of His Majesty, you've even thrown away your moral integrity. Class of God students. They admitted that Yiqing Luo was indeed beautiful, but where did she get the confidence to think that the overlord would fancy her? Moreover, was it really good to boast about herself? The three masters were speechless. Could it be that this girl had been bewitched by the overlord's peerless face? Bai Mei heard Yiqing Luo's words and gave a mocking laugh. She stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with ridicule. Yiqing Luo, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Do you really think that the overlord is such a shallow person? How dare you embarrass yourself in front of His Majesty with your looks? Who do you think you are? Really, Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she gave an incomparably enchanting smile. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curled up, and a trace of craftiness flashed across her charming eyes. Following that, she openly walked towards Dmo Xian's direction. Bai Mei's heart couldn't help but trembled as she stared at Yi Qing Luo in shock. Yi Qing Luo. Surely she wouldn't really want to seduce the overlord in public, right? Bai Mei wanted to stop Yi Qing Luo from getting near. But before she could act, she recalled the scene of Dmo Xian avoiding her touch. She paused to stop him. Just based on Yi Qing Luo, that tender little bean sprout, how could she arouse the overlord's interest? Heh. She was going to take a good look at how Yi Qing Luo was rejected by the overlord. How embarrassing she was. Yi Qing Luo's peripheral vision shot a glance at Bai Mei, who was smiling delightedly. Her lips curled up even more. Her long and narrow eyes slightly curved. She met Dmo Xian's eyes and her smile widened. Finally he stopped. The distance between her and Dmo Xian was only the distance of one step. Overlord, I want to seduce you. Do you have a problem with that? Yi Qing Luo looked up at him. Her charming eyes reflected the man's handsome face. Everyone was taken aback. Seducing someone, or what? She knew it in her heart. How could she say it directly in front of the person she wanted to seduce? Dmo Xian's eyes drooped. Sparkling ripples flashed across his peach blossom eyes. Chapter 2263. His elegant eyes met with her enchanting eyes. For eyes met, and everything was silent. Both of them didn't say a word. They just looked at each other quietly. These two people were calm. But the crowd couldn't stay calm. Their hearts were about to jump out from their throats. What was with this strange atmosphere? Why didn't the overlord say anything? Yi Qing Luo said she wanted to seduce the overlord. Why didn't she take the next step? In this strange and heavy atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The crowd only felt that. Half of their lives were about to be scared out of their wits. Bai Mei clenched her fingers tightly as she looked at the two of them looking at each other without saying a word. There was a warm feeling in her heart. She was so angry that her eyes turned red as she pointed at Yi Qing Luo angrily and started scolding. Yi Qing Luo, the overlord didn't even want to bother about you, and you still don't know. The word shame had yet to come out from her mouth. Dmo Xian glanced sideways as his peripheral vision casually swept past her. Bai Mei shuddered as she felt a burst of chilly air pressing down on her. It was just a faint peripheral vision, but it revealed a bone-chilling coldness. Following that, she saw Dmo Xian's gaze was completely on Yi Qing Luo alone. His dark eyes were glistening as his thin lips curled into an evil cold arc. You. How are you going to seduce me? It wasn't hard to hear the joy in his voice that was as mellow as fine wine. The crowd's hearts were pounding as they looked at Yi Qing Luo in disbelief. They couldn't imagine that after Yi Qing Luo's bold and rude action, the overlord he wasn't angry and joked with Yi Qing Luo? How could this be possible? The most shocked was Bai Mei. Bai Mei's flirtatious face was twisted into a ball due to shock and jealousy. However, this wasn't the end. The shock she gave the crowd hadn't ended yet. The young lady who was standing in front of Dmo Xian raised her slender brows slightly after hearing Dmo Xian's words. The young lady's eyes were curved, narrow and charming. She burst out laughing. Her laughter was filled with flirtatiousness and sweetness. It wasn't a deliberate act of coquettishness. It was extremely soothing to the ears. After that, the young lady stretched out a hand and hooked it around Dmo Xian's neck. With a little force, Dmo Xian's body leaned forward. The girl tiptoed and pressed her pink lips on the man's thin lips. It was a light kiss. The young lady moved her lips away and released his neck as she looked at Dmo Xian's eyes with a smile. Such a seduction. Will Overlord be able to accept it? Night. Qing. Fall. Bai Mei screamed Yi Qing Luo's name hysterically. Her entire body was shaking uncontrollably as her eyes stared deadly at Yi Qing Luo, filled with dense murderous intent. B*TC. Little slut. Yi Qing Luo dared to blaspheme the overlord. Yi Qing Luo actually dared to do such a thing to the overlord. These few days, Dmo Xian had been staying in the god class. She racked her brains but was still unable to climb onto Dmo Xian's bed. Even if they were to take a step closer to Dmo Xian, they would be met with Dmo Xian's cold stare. But, Yiqing Luo, that little slut, she actually dared to disrespect the overlord in front of everyone. Bai Mei was so angry that she gritted her teeth and couldn't wait to tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. The overlord is not someone that a slut like you can blaspheme. I'm going to kill you. Bai Mei gave a furious howl of unwillingness as her figure suddenly scuttled towards Yiqing Luo's direction, attacking directly. The crowd then regained their senses from the shock. They saw Bai Mei actually made a move on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 2264. However, Teacher Yi's words were still too late. However, even if it wasn't too late, Bai Mei, who was in a fit of anger, would not listen to him. There was a deafening roar. The training ground was shrouded in dense qi that looked like a spider web. That huge net directly covered the direction where Bai Mei was coming from. Bang! Bai Mei let out a blood-curdling scream as she was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. He didn't even have time to get up. That huge net had already enveloped her within. Ah! Bai Mei's shrill scream echoed throughout the training ground. Master Bai! The students cried out in fear. The faces of the three masters froze, and they dashed toward Bai Mei. However, the three of them were unable to get close to the large net formed by profound strength. Bai Mei spat out a mouthful of blood. Her injuries were extremely severe. She propped herself up in disbelief as she looked at Dmo Xian. Lord Overlord, why did you? Besides Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could hurt her. Other than Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could create such a huge net to trap her. It was Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had made a move on her. Bai Mei felt a dull pain in her heart. His gaze suddenly swept to the front of Dmo Xian, the young lady who was smiling like a flower. Bai Mei's brain quivered. Yiqing Luo. It was Yiqing Luo. The reason why Dmo Xian took action against her was because of Yiqing Luo. Why did Dmo Xian want to help Yiqing Luo? Could it be that Dmo Xian had really taken a fancy to Yiqing Luo? At this thought, Bai Mei's heart was filled with intense hatred. Overlord. Fatty Master looked at the situation. It was getting more and more complicated. He looked at Dmo Xian awkwardly. Bai Mei she. Although her temper is a little hot-tempered, but Overlord's action, isn't it? Not too good? The fat teacher said meaningfully. As he spoke, he kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with his hand. He didn't want to come forward to persuade Dmo Xian. He didn't want to step out to accuse Dmo Xian. But Bai Mei was the teacher of the class of God, and she was the sister of that man. The overlord and that lord had been good friends for many years. This was how he treated Bai Mei. Aren't you worried that the lord will be angry? Dmo Xian glanced at Fatty Master indifferently. Unfortunately, I'm very satisfied with this student's seduction, and I'm willing to let this student seduce me. Since Master Bai wants to hurt this student, I'll protect my woman. What's wrong with that? That was an understatement. It was an understatement. However, the meaning behind his words was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. What did Dizun say? He said he was satisfied with Yiqing Luo's seduction? And he even personally admitted that Yiqing Luo was his woman? This must be a fake venerable sovereign. The students couldn't believe what they were hearing. The three headmasters were also stunned on the spot. No matter who it was, no one would be able to believe Dmo Xian's words. Dmo Xian's words made Bai Mei, who was trapped in the net, spit out another mouthful of blood. Anger was raging in his heart. Dmo Xian he was actually seduced by Yiqing Luo. Still said that Yiqing Luo was his woman? Yiqing Luo was just a little bean sprout. What qualifications did she have to seduce Dmo Xian? The overlord must have been bewitched by Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei's eyes were stained with poison as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Her silver teeth were almost crushed by her clenched teeth. Unexpectedly, while everyone was still in shock. Chapter 2265. The crowd sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Yiqing Luo, wasn't this too arrogant? Did she know who the man in front of her was? Don't you know what the words Dizun represent? She actually rejected the overlord. And it was rejected in public. After the shock, everyone's heart was filled with fear and uneasiness. The overlord was such a high and mighty person. To be rejected by a 15-year-old young lady in public. Would he turn angry out of humiliation? And in order to hide this matter, he would slaughter all the witnesses? It was rumored that the overlord was bloodthirsty and cruel, extremely cold and emotionless. In order to protect his own face, there was a possibility that the overlord would really do this. This thought caused everyone to shiver involuntarily. They were all cursing Yi Qingluo in their hearts. They wondered where did this woman get her confidence from? To be so arrogant and pampered here? Just because she was Ghost Doctor's disciple? The last that Guiyu was protecting? Did she know that the overlord's status was much more respectable than Guiyu, Ghost Doctor and the rest? The students broke out in cold sweat, and some of them started crying out of fear of death. Yi Qingluo, you slut. The overlord has taken a liking to you. That's your past life's good fortune. Bai Mei was stunned by Yi Qingluo's words. Her hatred and anger towards Yi Qingluo had reached its peak at this moment. She had racked her brains to get the overlord. But the overlord was captivated by that slut Yi Qingluo. This slut dared to reject the overlord. This was a provocation to her. Was she ridiculing her for not getting what she wanted? The more she thought, the deeper the hatred in Bai Mei's heart. The deeper it was, the deeper Bai Mei's hatred towards Yi Qingluo grew. Yi Qingluo naturally didn't miss Bai Mei's growing hatred. Her lips curled as she smiled sweetly. The overlord has taken a liking to me. That means his foresight is good. Her words paused as Yi Qingluo's gaze was filled with contempt as she sized up the disheveled Bai Mei from head to toe. Following that she sneered. Taking a liking to me is better than taking a liking to an old cow like you. Master Bai, you're half a woman and you still have the cheek to seduce the overlord? You bitch. Bai Mei was so angry that she coughed up blood again. No woman would be able to control their emotions when they heard a woman they hated talking about their age. Yi Qingluo raised her eyebrows and smiled enchantingly. Don't tell me Master Bai thinks I'm wrong? Let me ask all the men here. Who would they choose between an old man and a young and beautiful girl? Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. However, many male students silently answered in their hearts. Of course he would choose a young and beautiful girl. In front of a young and beautiful girl, who would be interested in old Sue. As long as it was a man, they would make the same choice. Everyone sneaked a peek at Dmo Xian. Unexpectedly, the honorable and mysterious overlord was also a vulgar man, just like any other man based on his appearance, of course. Everyone only dared to ridicule these words in their hearts. Bai Mei was so angry that her vision darkened, and she almost fainted. Hee. A low and hoarse chuckle sounded, filled with endless magnetism. Like a feather, it gently tickled the hearts of the crowd. The whole place instantly fell silent. Their gazes turned uniformly towards Dmo Xian. The overlord smiled? What did his smile mean? Chapter 2266. This student is right. Dmo Xian chuckled softly. Right. What's right? What Yi Qingluo said earlier was that the overlord had taken a liking to her because he had good taste. The overlord's right. Was he responding to Yi Qingluo's words? Or, the overlord felt that Yi Qingluo's ridicule of Bai Mei as a half-woman was right? The next moment, the overlord personally answered their doubts. This overlord's taste has always been good. The crowd. Why did it feel that the overlord's words were also an admission that he also felt that Bai Mei was a half-woman? Yi Qingluo nodded satisfactorily and looked at Dmo Xian in satisfaction. This is the overlord. If the overlord was really blind to take a liking to that kind of trash, who knows how others would ridicule him? Not only does it prove that the overlord has good taste, it also proves that the overlord is a real man. The crowd wanted to laugh, but most of them were afraid. Why was Yi Qingluo so daring? The word she said to the overlord was more daring than the previous one. Did she really think that if the overlord took a liking to her, he wouldn't kill her? After this thought passed, the crowd was slapped in the face again. Their noble overlord really didn't look angry at all. On the contrary, his smile deepened as he looked at Yi Qingluo without blinking and asked seriously, "Classmate, what do I need to do to make you like me too?" Yi Qingluo's expression turned serious as she looked at Yi Qingluo. This must be a fake overlord. Why would the overlord? Why would he use such a tone to talk to a girl? He still wanted to please Yi Qingluo, to make her like him too. Yi Qingluo raised her brows. "You seduce me too?" Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up frivolously, his peach blossom eyes rippled with spring water. His long arms suddenly wrapped around Yi Qingluo's slender waist and locked her in his arms. He bent down and kissed her. "Now have you taken a liking to me?" Dmo Xian chuckled beside her ear. Yi Qingluo touched her pink lips and nodded satisfactorily. "Not bad, then I'll reluctantly take a liking to you." Class of God students looked like they had opened a dye workshop, colorful and colorful. The three masters were dumbstruck and couldn't keep up with the current development, whereas the devil class students couldn't help but burst out laughing. Damn. He was fed another mouthful of dog food in front of everyone. Every time Dizun appeared, they would be fed a mouthful of dog food. But fortunately, this time it wasn't just the 10 of them who were choked to death by dog food. Look at the colorful faces of the class of God students. Looking at the master's shocked expression. Seeing the master's shocked expression. Qing Luo Qing Luos. Their overlord was really filled with love towards Qing Luo. Bai. Qing Bai Qing Tian Mo Qing Shi. Mo Lord Qing. Mo. By Qing Shi. Qing I Lord. Qing. Was she Lord? Qing Yan said. Qing. Looking at Dmo Xian, lowering his head and smiling as he whispered to Yi Qingluo. Bai Mei was so jealous that she wanted to break the atmosphere. Dmo Xian's cold voice rang. "Since this lord and this student have taken a liking to each other, then this student's matter is also my matter." Bai Mei's heart trembled as she looked at Dmo Xian in disbelief. Chapter 2267. No, don't. Yinyu's tightly bound body was like a limbless animal on the ground, constantly struggling and squirming. Her face was filled with terror as she looked at Dmo Xian and cried out, "Don't! I'm wrong. I was wrong. Yi Qingluo, let me off, I promise. I promise that the next time I see you, I will immediately scram." Yinyu was very clear. If Dmo Xian had not come out, even if he was brought to the dean, she still had a chance to return to the class of gods, a chance to make a comeback. However, if the overlord wanted to punish her, she would not be able to do so. No one in this world could save her. No one could disobey the orders of Dizun. No, this was not an order at all. Even if it was just a casual word from His Majesty, everyone would regard it as an oracle. If she was taken away to be punished, even if he died, he would be cursed by thousands of people. They might even end up like Zi Qianxian, and even their own clans would be suppressed. She absolutely did not want to become like that. Yinyu squirmed crazily. He didn't care about his image at all. Yinyu wasn't the only one who knew the consequences of this matter. Everyone present was very clear about the consequences of offending Dmo Xian. Even Yi Luo, after Dmo Xian said those words, silently stood behind the class of God students. He was afraid that he would be implicated. No one spoke up for Yinyu again. In the silent training ground, only Yinyu's cries could be heard. Yi Qingluo squinted her eyes slightly as she leaned lazily in Dmo Xian's arms. As she disapprovingly glanced sideways at Yinyu and smiled faintly. "Student Yinyu, you think too highly of me. I merely wanted to ask you to cooperate with the investigation. Why do you look as though you're about to die?" She paused for a moment, and then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Could it be that you've really colluded with the underworld forces, and that's why you're afraid of the Special Investigations Department finding out the truth?" "I didn't. I really didn't." Yinyu cried and shook his head. "Please let me go. I really know I was wrong." Yi Qingluo's brows rose as her smile revealed a sliver of impatience. "Student Yin, you must have begged the wrong person? I have no enmity with you, so why should I let you off? Moreover, as long as you are innocent, why should you be afraid of being investigated?" Yin shook her head. Her tears had already smeared the makeup on her face, making it look extremely comical. She had never had any contact with the dark forces. How could he be afraid of an investigation? What she was afraid of was Yiqing Luo using the name of investigation to completely destroy her. This student, don't disturb this sovereign's woman. Dmo Xian saw Yiqing Luo's impatience as he shot a cold glance towards Yanyu. His voice suddenly turned icy cold. Still not bringing her down? The headmaster recovered from his shock. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Teacher Yi strode forward and said, I will go now. No. Teacher Yi, save me. Teacher Yi, save me. After Yanyu was lifted up, he screamed hysterically. Hold on. Yiqing Luo suddenly spoke. Trembling with fear, Teacher Yi halted his steps. He heard Yiqing Luo speaking calmly. Director had offended the High Profound Hall's hallmaster, and has already been ordered by the High Profound Hall's hallmaster to reflect on the wall for 3 days, so I'm afraid there's no way to investigate this matter. Teacher Yi's expression changed slightly as his voice trembled. Then send her to the faculty council, and let the president of the faculty council carry out the investigation. When director returns from his reflection, this matter will be resolved. He paused, as though he was asking. Student Yiqing Luo, what do you think? Faculty council. Chapter 2268. Faculty Council, Simu Yan. The president of the Faculty Council, who had some relations with a certain protector from the dark forces. Sending her to the Faculty Council was indeed a good decision. Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Afraid of being implicated by this matter, he immediately carried Yanyu and dashed towards the entrance of the class of gods. He was really afraid of today. For a long period of time in the future, he was going to have a psychological trauma towards the physical fitness training ground. Yanyu was still wailing. Until she was dragged away by Teacher Yi, no one spoke out to plead for her. Yanyu's heart was crying out in frustration. Towards Yiqing Luo, she hated her even more. And that useless Bai Mei. If it wasn't for Bai Mei, that slut, she wouldn't have ended up in such a state. It was Bai Mei who insisted on showing off the power behind her, competing with Yiqing Luo on how to bully others. She even invited the Overlord over, which led to her being personally mentioned by the Overlord to spare no effort to punish her. Yanyu apparently didn't expect this. Right from the start, she was the one who took the initiative to seek help from Bai Mei. Her heart was filled with hatred towards Yiqing Luo, hatred towards Bai Mei. After Yanyu was brought away, the training ground fell into a deathly silence once again. No one dared to speak first. Dmo Xian lowered his head. His deep eyes gazed at the young lady in his arms, his elegant face. The lines were extremely gentle. Lil Luo, or you must be tired today, go back and rest? Yiqing Luo stretched out her arms towards him. Hug me if you want. Dmo Xian smiled to satisfy her. That kind of pampering almost blinded the eyes of the surrounding students. Only Ghost Doctor and Gui Yu, as well as the Devil Classes students, bore a look as though they were already used to it. Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo, walking towards the direction of the small path. Bai Mei panicked. She was still trapped in the big net, as she screamed shrilly, Overlord! Overlord, you! Let me out, treating me like this. Aren't you afraid that I'll complain to sister? Dmo Xian's footsteps halted. When Bai Mei saw this, her eyes lit up. Overlord, you promised sister that you'll take good care of me for a slut. She had yet to finish her curses. Acutely sensing that the pressure on Dmo Xian's body had sunk considerably, she came back to her senses and stopped herself from blurting out the words. She changed her words. You hurt me so much just for a little girl. If my sister knew about this, she would be bitterly disappointed. Dmo Xian hugged Yiqing Luo as he slowly turned his head. His brows were slightly furrowed and his expression was a little cold, revealing a sharpness. His peach blossom eyes were as deep as the sea. Bai Mei's body suddenly stiffened, and her expression became extremely ugly. Gradually she began to tremble in fear. Obviously, Dmo Xian did not utter a single word. But Bai Mei was totally unable to restrain her fear towards Dmo Xian. You said it yourself, that's your sister. How this lord treats you has nothing to do with your sister. Dmo Xian's thin lips parted slightly. The words he spat out were also extremely cold. Bai Mei trembled and did not dare to speak. Yi Qing Luo bit her pink lips with interest and pinched Dmo Xian's face with her little hand. Overlord, one master Bai is not enough. You even brought his sister? May I ask, who is this sister? Dmo Xian lowered his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. His thin lips revealed a smile. Why? Are you jealous? Dmo Xian's voice just landed. Bai Mei seemed to have caught a breakthrough point as she screamed shrilly. Yi Qing Luo, you didn't hear wrongly. My sister and Overlord's relationship is not something you can interfere with. Star. Chapter 2269. Seeing Yi Qing Luo's hand pinching Dmo Xian's face. Not only was Dmo Xian not infuriated, his brows were filled with gentleness. But when Dmo Xian faced her, it was as if he had fallen into an ice house. Why? On what basis did Yi Qing Luo, that slut who only knew how to bully others, other than her pretty face, was able to gain Dmo Xian's attention? Even if she couldn't get it, she would not allow Yi Qing Luo to be together with Dmo Xian happily. Which woman would not mind that the man she loved had other relationships with other women? Even if they didn't say it out loud, they would still feel a knot in their hearts. Furthermore, the relationship between the Overlord and her sister was something that the Overlord was unable to explain clearly to Yi Qing Luo. The more he explained, the more Yi Qing Luo would misunderstand. The minute Yi Qing Luo misunderstood the Overlord, between them, can they still be happy together? No, absolutely not. It was just as Bai Mei had predicted. After she yelled those words, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Dmo Xian's expression suddenly sunk. His ruthless gaze fell on her. There seemed to be a whirlpool in his ink-black eyes. Bai Mei was so shocked that she seemed to have lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground. She was terrified. She knew that her words had infuriated Dmo Xian. But more than that, he couldn't suppress his ecstasy. Dmo Xian's expression clearly explained. Her words would definitely incite the conflict between him and Yi Qing Luo. Anyway, for the sake of his sister, Dmo Xian would never kill her. At most, he would receive some punishment. As long as Yi Qing Luo and Dmo Xian were separated. So what if he had to suffer a little punishment? This was the first time the two of them had met and gotten to know each other. Especially for a young lady like Yi Qing Luo. It was too easy to misunderstand because Dmo Xian had other relationships with other women, thus provoking Dmo Xian. Bai Mei's thoughts. How could Yi Qing Luo possibly not tell? But what made Yi Qing Luo surprised was Dmo Xian's expression when Bai Mei mentioned that sister. It could be seen that Dmo Xian indeed had an unusual relationship with Bai Mei's sister. Of course, she and Dmo Xian had experienced many things, big and small. They were willing to give up their lives for each other. She would naturally believe in Dmo Xian. Looking at Dmo Xian's gloomy expression, while Yi Qing Luo raised her head to look at Dmo Xian's side profile with an astonished look, Bai Mei plucked up her courage and sneered. Young lady, as someone who has been through it, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't think too highly of yourself. In His Majesty's eyes, you are nothing but a toy. You will never be able to overcome the relationship between His Majesty and my sister. Bai Mei's words had several layers of meaning. Firstly, she used the words experienced to indicate that she and Dmo Xian had an unusual relationship. She was provoking Yi Qing Luo and using her own sister to infuriate her. However, after Yi Qing Luo heard Bai Mei's hysterical sneer, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on her face. Her tone was so calm that it was almost impossible to tell what she was feeling. Oh, Bai Mei was startled. Everyone was taken aback. Oh, what does "oh" mean? Did she not understand the meaning behind Bai Mei's words? Or, Yi Qing Luo didn't like Dmo Xian. In order to provoke Bai Mei, she intentionally seduced Dmo Xian. So, Yi Qing Luo didn't care what relationship Dmo Xian and Bai Mei's sister had? But, even if she didn't like him now, it didn't mean that she wouldn't like him in the future. This was the Overlord. Chapter 2270. Bai Mei's venomous gaze almost swallowed Yi Qing Luo. She was just a 15-year-old girl. Why was her heart so strong? No matter how she tried to provoke her, she couldn't arouse Yi Qingluo's emotions. Looking at Yi Qingluo's indifferent face, leaning lazily in Diemo Xian's arms, one of her fingers hooked a lock of Diemo Xian's hair, twining it in her hand. Yi Qingluo also deliberately tugged his hair from time to time. However, Diemo Xian didn't show any signs of anger. Instead, he looked at Yi Qingluo with doting eyes. Even if Yi Qingluo sometimes used a little too much strength and pulled Diemo Xian's scalp, Diemo Xian still had a doting smile on his lips, allowing the girl to do whatever she wanted to him. His heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. His anger was surging. He couldn't wait to rush out and pull the two apart. Yi Qingluo casually met Bai Mei's gaze. Her hands suddenly hooked around Diemo Xian's neck. Her smile was full of obvious provocation and ridicule. Master Bai, do you think I will treat your sister as a competitor? Bai Mei's throat tightened. Her anger was monstrous, but she couldn't explode. Yi Qingluo continued to smile. But Master Bai, you are already so old, your sister is older than you. I also said my Xian only likes young and beautiful girls like me, you and your sister don't have this chance. Yi Qingluo's voice was sweet and melodious. Her tone was extremely calm, extremely careless. But what she said almost made Bai Mei vomit blood. Just because you are young, you want to seduce the Overlord. You trash. At most one day, the Overlord will be tired of you. What are you so proud of? Yi Qingluo raised her eyebrows and looked at her smilingly. Yes, I am just relying on my young age. You can't win even if you want to. She paused and looked up, her eyes curved as she gazed at the elegant face in front of her. As for when the Overlord will be tired of me, it is not up to you to decide. She blinked her eyes and smiled extremely brightly. Xian, you say. When will you be tired of me? Not waiting for Diemo Xian to answer, Bai Mei roared angrily. You. Who gave you permission to call the Overlord's name so intimately? Even her sister couldn't call the sovereign by his name. Yi Qingluo was just a slut. What right did she have to call Diemo Xian's name so intimately? A slut will always be a slut. Yi Qingluo still had a beaming smile on her face as she hooked her arms around Diemo Xian's neck and acted coquettishly. Xian, you just say it. When will you get tired of me? She had purposely used that voice of hers. She repeatedly shouted Xian. After she finished shouting, Yi Qingluo felt goosebumps all over her body. The group of students from Devil class all shuddered. Damn it, that Qingluo earlier was simply too scary. Bai Mei's face was so twisted that her original facial features could no longer be seen. She looked like an evil ghost from hell, extremely terrifying. Following that, a voice that was as clear as water, yet had traces of warmth resounded in this strange atmosphere. I won't get tired of you for the rest of my life. That voice was like waves of water ripples, dizzying the air, piercing through everyone's eardrums and right into their hearts. Everyone was shocked. This sentence was said by the Overlord. The Overlord was replying to Yi Qingluo's words. He said that he would never get tired of Yi Qingluo for the rest of his life. This was considered as a confession in front of everyone? The Overlord was really. Chapter 2271. Devil Classes Students. Damn it, they were stuffed with a mouthful of dog food in public again. Could they still play happily? Class of God students. Damn it, what kind of luck did this female student from the lower class have? Why was her luck so good? First it was Ghost Doctor, then it was Gui Yu. And now there was a love at first sight, the Overlord. This young lady was simply a winner in life. The students expressed their jealousy, but they didn't dare to show it out. Diemo Xian's words successfully pleased Yi Qingluo. She gave a satisfied smile as she raised her hand, as though it was a reward, as she caressed Diemo Xian's face. But Xian, this lifetime. I'm not satisfied. Then the next lifetime, the life after that, the lifetime after that. Diemo Xian's low and hoarse voice rang. Without any hesitation, Yi Qingluo nodded her head vigorously as she leaned forward and kissed his lips. Be good. This is your reward. Dmo Xian's dark eyes were dull as he stared deeply at Yiqing Luo's pink lips. That expression. Yiqing Luo could tell what Dmo Xian was thinking about. She laughed lightly as her charming eyes swept the surroundings. Suddenly she blinked as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms. "Ah Xian, I feel so tired." Dmo Xian carried her up horizontally. Yiqing Luo's hands hooked around his neck. Her head leaned against his chest as she closed her eyes. The two's actions seemed as though they had practiced for hundreds, thousands of times. Just like that, they leaned against each other steadily. It inexplicably made one feel that he was a good match for her. His wife said she was tired. Dmo Xian, who pampered his wife like his life, couldn't be bothered about the others as he carried Yiqing Luo and turned around to leave. He didn't care how Bai Mei was shouting and screaming behind him. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving, Devil Class's crowd covered their eyes as they heaved a sigh of relief. The two lovey-dovey people had finally left. They were about to be stuffed to death. Until Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo and ran far away. Guiyu then reacted to it. F***K. I had just made my debut and that lad actually came out to snatch my limelight. Ghost Doctor glanced at old man Guiyu indifferently. I've found my place, I've given my backing, I'm going back. We are the real saviors who came to save Luoyu. Why do we have to make way for that brat? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Old man Guiyu expressed his dissatisfaction. When he and Ghost Doctor found out that Yiqing Luo had suffered grievances in the God class, they dropped whatever they were doing and hurriedly rushed over. He had wanted to support his daughter and suppress those arrogant students from the class of gods. But Dmo Xian, that brat, why did he appear so coincidentally? Every minute, they would be robbed of all their credit. The Ghost Doctor's sinister eyes flickered. Our debt of standing up for the girl, counted on Dizun. Old man Guiyu rubbed his nose. That's a must. When the students of the class of gods heard the conversation between Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor, they felt a lingering fear. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign. That kid. The Ghost Doctor actually didn't stop him. Although the Dizun had gone far away, he was still a Dizun. What if the venerable sovereign returned? Hearing Guiyu's rude words, wouldn't he be punished at any minute? Wait a minute. Yiqing Luo, Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor's relationship. They were a family. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign. Could it be? Chapter 2272. That overlord and your class's student Yiqing Luo, do you know each other? The devil class students turned their heads and looked at the person who asked the question. The class of God students immediately averted their eyes, indicating that this question was not what they wanted to ask. But all of them pricked up their ears, which indicated that they were very concerned about this question. The devil class students' lips curled up as they gave a distant but polite smile. What do you think? They felt. The two of them definitely had something going on a long time ago. Looking at the atmosphere between Yiqing Luo and the Overlord. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like the first time they met. The two of them stood together, and the air was filled with an inexplicable sourness of love. Smelly. No matter how they looked at it, they were a perfect match. Absolutely not the first time they met. But they didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, the male lead in this incident was the high and mighty Overlord. The Overlord was not someone they could make up stories about. The students of Devil class smiled mysteriously at them again. Then in an orderly manner, they walked towards the 3 days masters. Masters, today's special training has ended. Let's return to the academy to tidy ourselves up. May I know when we will gather tomorrow? The 3 masters were still in a daze. Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo's scene was too shocking. Long Yunzhan had asked twice, but the 3 masters didn't answer. Until the 3rd time, Bai Mei's sharp and ear-piercing roar awakened the 3 of them. All of you get out of the class of God. We, the class of God, do not welcome this kind of bullying students. Bai Mei vented her hatred towards Yiqing Luo onto the devil class students. Fatty Master coughed violently. His eyes, which were like slits, looked at the 10 devil class students who were standing in a neat row in front of him. respectfully and respectfully. These students were all Yiqing Luo's classmates and brothers. It wasn't hard to tell that they were very united. Their relationship with Gui Yu and Ghost Doctor was also extremely close. What's more, when they met the Overlord, they had never been timid or knelt down. They were masters. Masters from the upper realm. And in the lower realm, they had searched for so many elite cultivators for the upper realm. Naturally, they knew more than those students. Naturally, he could tell. It was absolutely not the first time the Overlord and Yiqing Luo had met each other. To be able to make the Overlord put down everything and accompany Yiqing Luo to fool around. The relationship between them. They must have an extraordinary relationship. These devil class students, the masters naturally did not dare to slight them. Gather here at 5 in the morning, the fat teacher replied. The students of devil class thanked him politely. Chapter 2273. Students, this request, forgive us, we really can't agree. Teacher E walked over and said with a heavy expression, in other matters, the class of gods will try our best to satisfy you, but in special training, no one can be special. This was their insistence on their own teaching methods. It was also their attitude toward special training. Even if the Overlord personally asked, they would never compromise on the matter of special training. I hope that the special training of our devil class can be stricter. Long Yunjian looked at the three masters one by one. The masters' solemn expressions loosened, and they looked at him in surprise. Did they hear wrongly? The special treatment requested by the devil class. Was it stricter on them? Long Yunjian looked at the trio's expressions of disbelief and nodded his head seriously. Yes, I hope that in this month, our devil class's special training will be stronger than the usual special training of the class of gods. Teacher Shinqing coughed lightly. Children, do you know what special training the class of gods goes through? How much stronger, your bodies? We have no problem. Long Yunjian said calmly, since I brought it up to you, I am naturally mentally prepared. The other 9 devil class students smiled. Teacher, we have said before that our main purpose in coming to the class of gods is to become stronger. Don't worry if we can handle it, if we can't we will not force it. 10 devil class students bowed down respectfully towards the 3 masters in unison. The 3 teachers looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. They could not reject the student's request. All right, since this is your request, we will gradually increase the intensity of your special training. If you can't handle it, you can stop at any time. Thank you, teacher. The students of the devil class bowed respectfully and left the training grounds. The students of the class of gods looked like they had gone through a big battle. Their uniforms were soaked in sweat. They fell to the ground, panting. Shinqing looked at the direction the students left in. This group of students. I am really interested, I want to go and understand them. Yes, go and look for Yanmu to take a look at the information of the devil class. I have been a teacher for over 10 years. And this is the first time that I can't understand the students. Fat teacher nodded. No matter if it was Yiqing Luo's backing or her forces. It was still the students from the devil class. They were all incomparably shocked. As teachers, they could naturally see the talent and aptitude of each student. Other than Long Yunjian, Xiao Jin, Kitty Li and Mo Yuing, the talents of these 4 people were a little blurry and hazy. As for the other 6, their aptitudes were not bad. But compared to the students from the class of gods, they were clearly miles apart. However, as luck would have it, these students could only be regarded as above-average students. Yet he was able to easily complete special training missions that even the students of the class of gods couldn't complete. Just what secrets were they hiding? Or could it be that they had experienced some sort of change before? That was why it had become so mysterious and peculiar? Heavenly Academy, Yiqing Luo Dormitory. Yiqing Luo washed off all the perspiration on her body and casually put on a red inner garment before returning to the bed. Dmo Xian laid on the side of the bed in an extremely seductive posture. A head of ribbon-like black hair covered the entire bed. That magnificent face seemed to bear the endless pampering of the world. Chapter 2274. Yiqing Luo didn't argue as she placed her hand into his palm. The man's wrist exerted strength. Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. Her nostrils were filled with his elegant sandalwood scent. She rubbed her little face against his chest, extremely reluctant to leave. Her kitten-like expression made Dmo Xian's face reveal a joyful expression. His lips curled as he gave a low laugh. "What's the matter?" "Not happy," Yiqing Luo replied honestly. Dmo Xian's large palm held her face. "With Ghost Doctor and Gue Yu supporting you from the front, I also cooperated with your performance from the back and taught the person you wanted to teach a lesson. Why are you still not happy?" Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she stared at him. "You know the answer but still ask." Dmo Xian laughed lightly again. His long arm grabbed, pulling Yiqing Luo into his arms. He was laughing. His chest was heaving up and down. The luxurious brocade robe's patterns caressed her delicate skin. Yiqing Luo struggled as her pink fists hung on his chest. "Dmo Xian, laugh again, and you'll sleep at the entrance tonight." Dmo Xian hugged her petite body tightly. He lowered his head. Mo Yao's pupils seemed like it was decorated with bright stars and ripples after ripples of water. It was extremely captivating. Yiqing Luo's heart, under this gaze, suddenly tightened. "You're angry that I didn't tell you about me in the God class." Dmo Xian's fingertips gently caressed her skin, bit by bit, as though under his fingertips was this world's peerless treasure. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips silently agreeing. "You're not happy because you don't know what relationship I have with Bai Mei's sister. Because you know, I indeed really care about her sister." Dmo Xian continued. His tone was gentle, as though water could be squeezed out. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she became even more displeased. Dmo Xian lifted her lower jaw lightly as his gentle and affectionate gaze directly collided into Yiqing Luo's eyes, heart, limbs and bones. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she wanted to hide. However, the man's strength was too great, and she couldn't retreat at all. "The reason why I'm in the class of gods, one of the reasons, is because of that map." Dmo Xian explained word by word gently, his eyes filled with indulgence, without a hint of impatience. "That map." Dmo Xian said that the profound flames Dubhe diagram would cause the entire world to fall into an endless war. Was there anything related to the arcane flames Dubhe diagram in the class of gods? "Don't think too much, you just need to protect yourself and keep the secret of the map. Leave the rest to me." Dmo Xian lowered his head and planted a light kiss on her forehead. Yiqing Luo was filled with questions, but after Dmo Xian's words, she swallowed them back. Dmo Xian was unwilling to say. No matter how she asked, she couldn't get anything out of him. She knew that the reason why Dmo Xian did not say anything was for her own good. However, in his heart, he always felt depressed. Looking at Yiqing Luo's pair of bright eyes, the light gradually dimmed. Dmo Xian used his chin to rub against her forehead. "Secondly, the most important reason why I'm in the class of gods is that you're coming to the class of gods for special training, and I can still be here to see you." "You? Where are you going?" Why did these words sound so strange? Yiqing Luo suddenly straightened up and pushed Dmo Xian away. Kneeling by his side, she stared at him. "From your tone, it seems like you're not coming back for half a month?" Dmo Xian obediently fell back onto the bed. His silky black hair scattered all over the bed. The man's elegant appearance was like a demon, emitting an irresistible evil charm. Star. Chapter 2275. A monster. What a torturous little demon. Yiqing Luo cursed silently in her heart. However, his face was still expressionless, and his eyes were full of resentment. I have to leave the Nirvana realm for a while, and won't be back for a while." Dmo Xian didn't hide anything. "Leave the Nirvana realm?" Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she grabbed his palm with both hands. "Because of the map?" "Yes, but not entirely." Dmo Xian clasped her wrist and pulled her into his arms. His long and narrow eyebrows were slightly raised, forming a demonic arc. His peach blossom eyes glowed with a myriad of splendor that rippled like water. He stroked the hair of the girl in his arms, his voice calm and magnetic. During this period of time, focus on your special training in the class of gods. Don't worry about anything else. Don't bother yourself with anything else. Wait for my return. Nestled in the man's arms, Yiqing Luo symbolically struggled for a while. Hearing the news that Dmo Xian was going to leave the Nirvana realm for a period of time, Yiqing Luo's heart had an indescribable feeling of uneasiness. She hugged Dmo Xian's firm waist and pouted gloomily. Then when are you coming back? Very soon. Dmo Xian didn't give a specific time, but answered with two firm words. Yiqing Luo gave a soft moan as her little head rubbed against his chest. She did not have the intention to force Dmo Xian to stay. Dmo Xian was willing to give her the space to grow. She would also give Dmo Xian the freedom to solve his problems. Dmo Xian's identity was a mystery. His arrogance and disdain for everything seemed to be innate. With her current level, there was no way she could provide him with any help. She could not delay Dmo Xian. But Yiqing Luo was even more determined in her belief. She had to pick up the pace. She wanted to be a woman who would make the world feel that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. Just like on the training ground, no one believed that Dmo Xian would fancy her, even if he had taken a fancy to it. In everyone's eyes, it was just a game, because no one felt that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. That was right, Dmo Xian was so noble and mysterious. He didn't seem like someone from the mortal world. She wanted to chase after Dmo Xian's footsteps. It would take a long time, a very long time. Don't let your imagination run wild. Dmo Xian abruptly lifted her delicate body up. We cultivators have a longer lifespan than ordinary people. We have plenty of time, don't be anxious, I'll wait for you. His tone was gentle, filled with confidence and trust from the bottom of his heart. The gentle voice easily pierced into Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly sour as her lips curled into a brilliant smile, burying her head into his neck. I will do my best. Dmo Xian patted her head. After hugging for a while, Yiqing Luo's thoughts returned and suddenly her expression changed as she tugged at Dmo Xian's collar. Wait, why did the topic suddenly change so much? You don't even think of using sweet words to change the topic. Tell me honestly, what kind of secret do you have with Bai Mei's sister? Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. Dmo Xian's honey trap. He could flirt with her until she forgot about him. He had almost forgotten about the most important question. A woman's possession was no less than a man's, especially the man she loved. In front of Bai Mei, she casually expressed that Sister Bai Mei was very old and she wasn't worried. But in fact, Dmo Xian's reaction toward Sister Bai Mei made her heart feel a knot. Yiqing Luo wasn't a pretentious person. Chapter 2276. After all, if the two of them were together, if there was any unhappiness, they could talk it out face to face. This was the best solution. Otherwise they would keep it in their hearts. The more they held it in, the more things they would imagine and the sadder their hearts would be. Over time, once it exploded, their feelings would be impacted and cracks would form. Yiqing Luo knelt beside Dmo Xian. She could clearly see the expression on Dmo Xian's face. When she mentioned Bai Mei's sister, Dmo Xian's pair of shimmering eyes flashed obviously. It wasn't easy to detect, but Yiqing Luo caught it. Her pink lips pursed even tighter. She wasn't suspecting that Dmo Xian had some special feelings for Bai Mei's sister. But it was extremely not, this feeling of not knowing anything. She could ignore Dmo Xian's overly secretive and important matters. But this matter concerned women. Yiqing Luo didn't want to be isolated and ignorant. Bai Mei's sister. Her identity, I can't tell you for now. Dmo Xian sighed softly as he lowered his eyes and held her hand, gently caressing it. Yiqing Luo's brows creased. All the unhappy and unpleasant emotions were clearly displayed on her face. Dmo Xian sighed again. He got up slightly and put his arm around Yiqing Luo's shoulder. But I can tell you, towards her, I only admire. Admiration? This word, coming out from Dmo Xian's mouth, really made one rather shocked. The person whom Dmo Xian admired, What kind of person would that be? He used the word admire. It was enough to show that Dmo Xian indeed had no such thoughts towards Bai Mei's sister. He only treated her as an elder and respected her. Elder. Yiqing Luo thought of Bai Mei's half-aged, half-feminine face, as she couldn't help but burst out laughing with a pft sound. She didn't know where Bai Mei got her courage from, to dare to have improper thoughts towards Dmo Xian. What's more, she even gave her own sister to Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he spoke in a low voice. Happy now? Still not happy? Yiqing Luo arrogantly raised her little chin and snorted. A lot of those feelings all start from admiration. Now it's admiration, but after you admire her more and more, you won't be able to forget her in your heart. And then what? Dmo Xian's thin lips curved upwards as he asked in a low and hoarse voice. Yiqing Luo was bewitched by his smile as her little heart pounded wildly. She bit her pink lips and her voice became softer. Then you ran away with her. Dmo Xian leaned forward and his husky magnetic laughter tickled her eardrums bit by bit. Didn't you say that I like this type of young and pretty little beauty? Bai Mei was already so old. Wasn't her sister even older? Why would I run away with her? I don't care. Anyway, other than me, you can't give any feelings to other women. Yiqing Luo was as overbearing as a child. Her little hand clutched Dmo Xian's collar as she pouted. This kind of coquettish act made Dmo Xian's heart melt. It was Dmo Xian's first time seeing this. Seeing the seriousness in the girl's eyes, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lil Luo cared so much about her. Possession Valley owed so much. This also meant that she had truly treated him as her man. Lil Luo's character, she understood it all too well. Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes curved as he looked at Yiqing Luo with a grin. Lil Luo, is so overbearing, then have you thought of what method to use, to give all my feelings to you alone? Star. Chapter 2277. Yiqing Luo stared at Dmo Xian. How could he not understand the deep meaning behind Dmo Xian's words? This man really knew how to take a mile when given an inch. Although he was complaining in his heart. However, when he met that pair of smiling peach blossom eyes, her heart softened a little. She glared at Dmo Xian again in annoyance. She tugged at Dmo Xian's collar as she bent down and bit down hard on Dmo Xian's lips. Then he stood up and snorted. I've stamped my mark here, so you're mine. Dmo Xian laughed heartily as he leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers glowed with flowing fluorescent light. Bit by bit, he wiped his lips. He chuckled like a fox. That's all. You still want a foot after giving me an inch? Believe it or not, I will kick you off the bed right now. Yiqing Luo's cheeks were slightly red as she lifted her leg to kick Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's large palm easily caught Yiqing Luo's little feet. Yiqing Luo struggled and shook her legs, but the man refused to let go. She just came out of the shower. Her two fair feet were caught in Dmo Xian's palm. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she couldn't help but call out, Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's lips curled into a sinister smile. His eyes were gloomy as he stared at his palm, at the snow-white, delicate and lovely feet. Suddenly, he slowly pressed his lips on the instep of his foot. Yiqing Luo's breathing seemed to have stopped. Her eyes widened, and when she came back to her senses, she wanted to pull her leg back even more. The glint in Dmo Xian's eyes turned darker and darker. Some kind of emotion was stirring in his heart. His low and hoarse voice was like a scorching fire, wrapping around Yiqing Luo. Lil Luo, are you sure you want to buy my feelings just like that? Yiqing Luo knew that he did it on purpose. He wanted her to take the initiative. She gritted her teeth and looked at the devilish smile on the face of unparalleled beauty in front of her. She suddenly pounced forward and pressed onto Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian, see if I don't make you hover between life and death. The next day, Yiqing Luo was hovering between life and death when she was shaken awake by Kitty Lee. Her whole body was sore and limp. He opened his sleepy eyes and saw a cute and delicate little face in front of him. The two ears on the top of her head were still twitching nonstop. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and stroked Kitty Lee's head before hugging her in her arms. Kitty cat, Accompany me to continue sleeping for a while. Sister. Li's little claws pried Yiqing Luo's hand away. Get up quickly, we're about to gather at the class of gods. The fat teacher said that we must gather before the hour of the morning. No one is allowed to be late. Class of gods? Gather? Yiqing Luo's chaotic mind suddenly cleared up. She sat up on the bed. What time is it now? You have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare. Kitty Li puffed up her cheeks. The Overlord really doesn't know how to care for you. He knows that we still need special training, but he still tortures you like this. Yiqing Luo blushed as she cupped Kitty Li's little face and rubbed it hard. Kitty cat, you're still a child, don't talk about such a mature topic. Kitty Li let out a meow meow sound, her little claws flapping about. Yiqing Luo let go of her face. Be good, go wait outside, I'll be out soon. Kitty Li reluctantly walked out of Yiqing Luo's room. Yiqing Luo endured the soreness and limp body and climbed up. The bedding on the bed had been changed into a new one. Her uniform was hanging by the side. Even the underwear was prepared in an orderly manner. Yiqing Luo blushed. Chapter 2278. Yiqing Luo's face was filled with disdain, but she was actually overjoyed as she quickly put on her clothes. In her mind, she was still recalling the words Dmo Xian said when he left while hugging her. Dmo Xian said that before he returned, Bai Mei would not have the chance to appear in front of her. The teachers and students in Class of Gods would definitely not dare to go against Devil Class. In Class of Gods, he had a friend who was a student in Class of Gods. If he was not around and met with any unsolvable problems, he could look for that friend for help. Yiqing Luo was in a daze from Dmo Xian's torment, and didn't listen to him at all. Now that she was awake, she recalled what Dmo Xian said. She was slightly stunned. Friend. Student? Dmo Xian's friend in Class of Gods? And a student? Why didn't she feel that any student in Class of Gods was friends with Dmo Xian at the training ground? Dmo Xian seemed to have said something at the end. She was in a daze and didn't hear it clearly. Hearing Kitty Li's urging from outside, Yiqing Luo shook her head. Let's not think about these things for now. She must rush to the training ground before 5 in the morning. She had just been in the limelight in Class of Gods yesterday. If she was late today, it would only make the students in Class of Gods even more certain that she was bullying others. After a quick tidying up, Yiqing Luo dragged Kitty Li and headed towards Class of Gods' courtyard. When they reached the training ground, it was exactly 5 in the morning. Not considered late. Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief as she looped one arm around Kitty Li's shoulder and panted heavily. Upon seeing this, the students of Devil Class, one by one, they walked over with ambiguous smiles. Qing Luo, look at your sleepy face, don't tell me. You didn't sleep at all last night? Where's the Overlord? Why don't I see him accompanying you? Don't tell me. The Overlord has been squeezed dry by Qing Luo and is still resting in the room? Each teasing was more ridiculous than the other. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red at the start and towards the end. Her face turned gloomy as she clenched her fist and threw a punch towards Qiao Jin, who was nearest to her. You're trying to silence me. Qiao Jin covered his face and jumped back a few steps. The 11 of them joked around, causing the air flow in the silent and oppressive training ground to ease a little. The students of the Class of Gods were getting more and more suspicious. This group of students from the Devil Class actually dared to make fun of the Overlord. It could be seen that the students of the Devil Class usually had a very good relationship with the Overlord. That was to say, Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo had long been a couple. The Ghost Doctor, Old Man Guiyu, and now Dizun, who in the Class of Gods would dare to find trouble with the Class of Devils. That person's brain must be stuffed with grass to be able to do such a thing. Cough, cough, cough. The Fat Master cleared his throat. The Devil Class students immediately stopped joking around and quickly returned to the middle of the training ground, standing in line. The students from the Class of Gods silently shifted to the side, afraid that they would accidentally bump into the Class of Devils and become the next cannon fodder. 3 masters stood in front of the students of the 2 classes. His gaze was extremely dignified as he swept a glance across the crowd. His deep voice was steady. Bai Mei's behavior is improper and vulgar, leading the students wrongly. The class of gods represents the Heavenly Academy to remove Bai Mei's position as a master, and this matter will be recorded in the main academy's archives. Chapter 2279. Last night, after Dmo Xian left with Yiqing Luo, the three teachers also took the opportunity to disperse the students in the field. But Dmo Xian had no intention to let Bai Mei off. That big net that trapped Bai Mei had been supported by profound qi for a day and a night. Until just now, there was still an hour before the time of the 5th hour. Bai Mei was carried out by them. Bai Mei's injuries were not serious, just some superficial wounds. However, he remained in the same position for several hours without being able to move. The muscles all over Bai Mei's body were stiff. She fell into a coma after being dragged down. Although Bai Mei had already been punished physically, but everything that Bai Mei had done yesterday, indeed, it was against the morals of a master. Removing Bai Mei from the position was not only for the sake of the overlord, but also Bai Mei had to accept the punishment. It could be said that once there was such a record in the main courtyard, no one dared to invite Bai Mei to be a teacher in any school. This was equivalent to banning. While Fatty Master was explaining Bai Mei's punishment, he was paying attention to Yiqing Luo's expression, only to discover that after he finished explaining Bai Mei's punishment, Yiqing Luo's expression did not change at all, not even the slightest bit of joy. Fatty Master paused for a moment. Could it be Yiqing Luo was very dissatisfied with this punishment? Cough. Master Yi coughed lightly and walked out. And Yenyu, I have sent her to the faculty council and detained her there for further investigation. Yiqing Luo was still expressionless. Fatty Master and Master Yi looked at each other. They expressed they really couldn't take a student with such a strong backing, although they said they didn't care. But in their hearts, they still respected the overlord so much that they couldn't treat the devil class and Yiqing Luo as a normal student. What Yiqing Luo means is, don't talk so much nonsense, start training quickly. Shunqing resumed his usual laziness. He lifted his eyelids lazily and glanced at Yiqing Luo. The two masters smiled awkwardly. Then the special training began. During the warm-up, Yiqing Luo's eyes searched among the students in the class of gods, not only to find the friend that Dmo Xian mentioned. He also wanted to take a look. Was the Upper Xian Hall master's words true or not? There was another shortcut to the upper realm. The class of gods would know. Who was it? But after looking around, Yiqing Luo didn't see any suspects. The special training began. According to the devil class's request, the fat teacher adjusted the amount of exercise for their special training based on their performance in the weight-bearing cross-country race the day before. Indeed, it could be considered as strengthening their special training. As for the students of the class of gods, they naturally had to undergo the same level of special training as the students of the class of devils. The three masters looked at the students of the two classes who had already begun their special training. Teacher Yi lowered his head and looked at the information in his hands. His face was full of amazement. Looks like we really need to pay more attention to things outside of the class of gods. This student Yiqing Luo is really an extraordinary talent. If it wasn't for her own uniqueness, the overlord wouldn't have fallen in love with her at first sight. Shunqing hung lazily on Fatty Master's body, smiling as he looked at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left. The information of the devil class doesn't match up. Fatty Master glanced at the information in his hands. They had specially gotten it from the faculty council last night. They had also specially inquired about the rumor that the devil class was once known as the waste class. Star. Chapter 2280. These students were indeed not particularly gifted students. On the contrary, before they entered the Heavenly Academy, their innate talents were ordinary and they were bullied in their own families. To be admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it was all because of their willpower that refused to give up. forcing themselves to pass the entrance examinations, one stage after another. But the current Heavenly Academy's director was a man who sought glory. These students, although they had passed the entrance examinations, but their innate talents were too poor. So he set up a devil class, specially for this group of students without any innate talents. He sent out some teachers who were eliminated to pretend to teach in the devil class. But every time, those teachers who went to teach in the devil class would be thrown out in various ways. The director originally didn't want to bother about this devil class. Since the devil class didn't know what was good for them, the director simply treated the devil class as if it didn't exist, leaving them to fend for themselves. Gradually, the name of the devil class. Only when the teachers wanted to punish those disobedient students would they threaten to send them to the devil class. At this time, the devil class's name would appear. But when did the students in the devil class change so much? From the information displayed, the changes in the devil class started after Yiqing Luo entered the devil class. Many people were talking about it. Yiqing Luo was able to turn from a useless body to a profound expert. The overlord must have helped her from the back. And when Yiqing Luo entered the devil class, the students in the devil class also changed from a useless body to cultivators who could take charge of their own affairs. It must be the overlord who helped those students on account of Yiqing Luo's face. But the three teachers who came from the upper realm didn't think so. They were very clear. A person's change was absolutely not something that could be changed overnight. Like Yiqing Luo's aura and her boldness. At least she needed to be nurtured and trained since young. At least she had experienced countless bloodshed. Only then could she have such a shocking aura. Moreover, the group of students in the devil class was absolutely not as simple as what they saw on the surface. They absolutely did not change after Yiqing Luo entered the devil class. It was only Yiqing Luo's arrival that made them more united. That girl called Yan Xiaoyi. In the files of devil class, there isn't any information on her. Teacher Yi flipped through the book in his hand and pointed to the other side. And that little thing called Kitty Li. But according to the faculty council's understanding, Yan Xiaoyi has already been in devil class for at least 3 years. Xin Qing took a look at Yan Xiaoyi. The students of the Heavenly Academy all have a wooden token that belongs to them. The wooden tablet will clearly record the changes in each student's profound rank. The other two headmasters were slightly stunned. He was right. With the Academy's wooden token, how could the Academy not have noticed the changes in the devil class? Moreover, if the faculty council didn't have Yan Xiaoyi's file, how did Yan Xiaoyi manage to stay in the devil class for 3 years? As for that little thing called Li Mao, others might not be able to tell, but the 3 teachers definitely could. Looking at Kitty Li's clingy attitude towards Yiqing Luo, she could roughly guess that Kitty Li should be Yiqing Luo's contracted beast. Chapter 2281. After the investigation, they were only left with disbelief and shock. This devil class was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, with unlimited potential. Old man Guiyu had specially emphasized that Yiqing Luo had the chance to enter the class of gods, but she had given it up. This sentence was absolutely true. Not only Yiqing Luo alone. From their point of view, these 10 students in devil class were all qualified to enter the class of gods to undergo the best special training. But the masters were very clear about this. Even if they really brought up this point, these 11 people would absolutely not agree to it. No one could destroy the atmosphere of unity, mutual support and mutual help between them. They had always felt that the students in the class of gods stood out one by one, no matter if it was in battle or defense. Their ability would always be invincible and invincible. But they always felt that the students in the class of gods were lacking a something. Now they finally understood. What they lacked in the class of gods was the affection between people, the trust between people. That kind of unity, the spirit of reliance. After a day of special training, the students of the 2 classes were exhausted after the increased intensity of the training. By the time they returned to the training ground, the students were already lying on the ground, unwilling to get up. Only the students of Devil class still maintained their formation from start to end. They received a towel and a water bag from the master. They wiped the sweat off their faces. Fatigue was evident on their faces, but compared to the state of the class of gods, they were obviously better. The students in the class of gods were all shocked. If it was said that the students in Devil class had completed the weight-bearing cross-country yesterday, they didn't witness it with their own eyes. Even with the master's testimony, they didn't really believe it. But today, they had been training together with the students in Devil class throughout. No matter what kind of training it was a group action. They had also deeply witnessed the gap between themselves and the students in Devil class. One by one, their arrogant hearts that were about to soar into the sky were all abused by the students of the Devil class until they fell straight down with a walala sound. At this moment, the students in the class of gods were not only conquered by the backing of Devil class, they were also conquered by their performance in the special training. After the students rested for a moment, the Fat Master's deep voice resounded throughout the training ground. Today's special training ends here. Gather here tomorrow at 5 in the morning. The students immediately responded in a loud voice. Yiqing Luo wiped the sweat off her forehead and looked at the receding figures of the class before she slowly walked towards the three masters. Masters, I have a question that I would like to ask you. What is it? Student Yiqing Luo, please speak. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Class of Gods and the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Profound Hall. Is there any special relationship? Upper Xian Hall? Teacher Yi stroked his white beard. The Shangshuan Palace has not been concerned about the development of the Heavenly Academy for many years, and the few of us have not specially looked for the Palace Lord. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips. Put it this way. The three of them were not the only ones who knew where the sacred beast pearl was. Bai Mei had always been in the god class and had never left it. This point could be seen from the fact that Bai Mei didn't know that she and Dmo Xian had already had numerous legs. If Bai Mei had left the class, the gossipy crowd had been gossiping about what had happened between her and Lin Mingya. Chapter 2282. Student Yiqing Luo is also acquainted with the Lord of Heavenly Palace? Shenqing leaned on Fatty's shoulder and asked curiously, what was this lass's background? Why did it seem that all her acquaintances were so amazing? Yiqing Luo shook her head. Just met once. The day before yesterday, I was summoned by the Lord of Heavenly Palace to inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy. To inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy, would he specially look for a student who had just returned? When they were investigating Yiqing Luo, naturally they had heard from the students of the Heavenly Academy about the day when Yiqing Luo had just returned. The protector of Heavenly Palace had specially appeared at the Heavenly Academy early in the morning, specially waiting for Yiqing Luo. Simply to inquire about the Heavenly Academy? The three masters expressed their disbelief. But since Yiqing Luo didn't say anything, they naturally wouldn't probe further. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and looked at the three masters, asking seriously, are there any other masters in the class of gods? Fatty was stunned and shook his head. Other than the three of us, and Bai Mei who had been removed from the position of master, there are no other masters in the class of gods. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. It seemed that the person in the class of gods that the Lord of Heavenly Palace mentioned was not a master of the class of gods, but other than the masters of the class of gods. Who else would know the precise location of the sacred beast pearl, and how to use it? Suddenly, Yiqing Luo's mind quivered. No. At that time, the Lord of Heavenly Palace said that what she wanted to know, the students in the class of gods knew best. What he said was the word student. Student. Before Dmo Xian left, he also said that he had a friend who was a student in the class of gods. After that, he said something that she was still in a daze. It seemed to be related to this matter. Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up and grabbed Teacher Yi's sleeve. Master, may I ask? Among the students in the class of gods, is there anyone who is familiar with Xian? The expressions of the three masters changed slightly. You want to ask About Sister Bai Mei? Listening to Yi Qing Luo calling the overlord, Xian intimately. They also knew that the relationship between Yi Qing Luo and the overlord was far deeper than what they saw. Yi Qing Luo asked about this. She must have been irritated by Bai Mei's words last night. We've been in the God class for so long, but to be honest, we've only seen Dizun twice. Shunqing chuckled. Although the overlord's return is indeed related to Bai Mei's sister, you can rest assured that Bai Mei's sister is not a good match for the overlord. Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched. Did she look like someone who would get jealous and cause trouble for no reason? She was clearly asking about the students. Why did the teachers think of Bai Mei's sister? To be honest, she had never considered Bai Mei's elder sister as a rival in love. I'm not asking about Bai Mei's sister, I mean, the students from the class of gods. Yi Qing Luo tried to explain, but Fatty Master had already used his fat palm to pat her shoulder heavily. Student Yi Qing Luo, you can rest assured. The overlord has been to the class of gods twice, including this time. Last time and this time, he only met Bai Mei once, but you've seen his attitude towards Bai Mei, so... Yi Qing Luo was speechless. She really wasn't jealous. Nor did she take advantage of Dmo Xian's absence. She wanted to investigate Dmo Xian's past. Chapter 2283. Student Yi Qing Luo, if it's possible. We would like to bring you to Bai Mei's sister and ask her personally. Fatty Master sighed. But we are unable to climb up that mountain. Even Bai Mei can't. Yi Qing Luo facebombed, expressing that she didn't want to ask any further. This group of masters were sure that she was jealous. She couldn't explain it clearly. What was there to say? Yi Qing Luo expressed that she was very angry, but she still had to maintain her smile and said to the masters, Masters, I have other matters to attend to, so I'll return to Devil class first. She turned around and dragged the Devil class students away. The Devil class students expressed their stupefaction and had yet to react. When the students had left the training ground, only the three masters were left. The expressions on their faces gradually became extremely grave. Mastery looked at the direction where Yi Qing Luo left and sighed. Do you think she will believe us? No matter if she believes or not, just don't ask us. Shunqing yawned lazily. Anyway, the person whom Yi Qing Luo is looking for will take the initiative to look for her, so we don't have to worry about this. Fatty Master nodded. Let's go, everything has been arranged, let's go back to our room to rest. Some of the Devil class students returned to the class to clean themselves up and return to the actual combat training forest. In case they couldn't report to the training ground tomorrow at 5 in the morning. As for Yi Qing Luo, after changing her clothes, she headed towards the direction of the ancestral hall. Calculating the time, the director would be coming out from the ancestral hall tomorrow. These 2 days, she hadn't had the time to settle the director's matter. She had no intention to let the director continue to stay in this position. Yi Qing Luo was agile, her figure as fast as lightning. In just a moment, she had already arrived near the ancestral hall. It was late at night, and the ancestral hall was a restricted area. At this hour, there wasn't any light in the surroundings. Yi Qing Luo seemed to be able to see things in the dark as she approached the ancestral hall accurately. The surroundings of the ancestral hall was surrounded by an enchantment. Perhaps Yi Qing Luo had entered the Lord's room previously. These enchantments did not stop Yi Qing Luo from entering. The last time in the small room where the director was facing the wall, she eavesdropped on the conversation between the director and Yun Xiang. She discovered this point. Just as he approached the hut, he heard the sound of people talking in a low voice. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly. They came at the right time. 3 joss sticks were lit in the small room of the dean's ancestral hall. Yi Qing Luo leaned close to the window, and through the flickering candlelight, she could see the 2 people inside. The headmaster sat on a praying mat, looking extremely dispirited. His hair, which had always been neat and tidy, was now in a mess, like a chicken nest. His usual clean and tidy robe hung loosely on his body. His face was filled with exhaustion. The candlelight was very close. Yiqing Luo could even clearly see the director's reddened eyes and the bruise at the corner of his eyes. It was obvious that he had been in the ancestral hall for almost 3 days. The dean didn't even close his eyes. Furthermore, his mental state was also very poor. It was as if he had suffered some kind of mental torture. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched in ridicule. In this eerie, terrifying, and lifeless ancestral hall, the dean had done so much that he had let down the Heavenly Academy and countless students. In this ancestral hall filled with the memorial tablets of the former dean, how was it possible for him to sleep peacefully? From the looks of it, the guilty things that the dean had done. Chapter 2284. Director, President C, seems to have met with some trouble. Yin Xiang said in a low voice. President C? Was he talking about Si Yanmu? They were just talking about getting Si Yanmu to help him secure the position of director? Yiqing Luo didn't have time to think about it. The director had already opened his mouth. His voice was hoarse and full of hostility. He is the president of Faculty Council, high and mighty. Even the elders have to give him face. What trouble could he possibly meet with? This tone, listening to it. Obviously there was some unhappiness with Si Yanmu. However, Yiqing Luo could roughly guess. Si Yanmu had a close relationship with a certain holy technique from the dark forces. It could be said that Si Yanmu's existence was. After the director's operation failed, he immediately took control of the Heavenly Academy. Now the dark forces were forced to return to the dark side. Moreover, most of the forces had been annihilated. The remaining were just some shrimp soldiers and crab generals. The director still wanted to make use of Si Yanmu and the dark forces to secure his position? How could the dark forces possibly waste their efforts on the director? Why would they take the risk of being discovered to help the director? Yin Xiang went to Si Yanmu to talk about this. It would only make the dark forces choose to give up on the director. As for the candidate for the next director, the dark forces would definitely let Si Yanmu take over. So Si Yanmu naturally didn't care much about Yin Xiang's words. These few days, didn't that little slut Yiqing Luo bring the devil class students to the class of gods for special training? It seems like on the first day of the special training, something big happened, and even the faculty council was alerted. Yin Xiang told the director about the news he had heard. Didn't Zi Qianqian have a cousin who is also a student in the class of gods? Under President Xi's intentional or unintentional retelling, that student knew that Yiqing Luo was the murderer who killed Zi Qianqian, so. In the class of gods, she and Yiqing Luo were not on good terms. But you also know that Yiqing Luo, that slut, has too many backers. How could a student in the class of gods win against her? So, she was personally brought to the faculty council by the master of the class of gods, saying that after you come out from your confinement, they will investigate this matter. The director's eyes suddenly froze. That student from the class of gods. Does he hate Yiqing Luo to the core? Of course. When I was discussing this matter with President C, I heard that student insulting Yiqing Luo nonstop, as though he couldn't wait to cut Yiqing Luo into 1,000 pieces. Yin Xiang nodded continuously. All right. Good job. Tomorrow, the dean will be able to leave this damned place. At that time, a cold light flashed in the dean's eyes. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This student from the class of gods could be put to good use. But, dean. Suddenly, Yin Xiang squatted down. His old face, under the candlelight, was somewhat strange. The dean frowned. He had a bad feeling about this. Yin Xiang laughed softly. Dean, if you want to leave this damned place, you have to be alive to do so. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Xiang's palm suddenly flipped and slammed down on the dean's chest. From the moment Yin Xiang squatted down, the dean had already felt that something was strange. When Yin Xiang attacked him, he reacted quickly and rolled on the ground. That palm brushed past his shoulder. A burst of intense pain, as though his shoulder was torn apart. Chapter 2285. You. How dare you betray me? The dean's eyes were scarlet red and his face was sinister. Yin Xiang saw that he had failed and simply couldn't be bothered to continue pretending. He sneered and stood up. Dean? I'm afraid you don't know that from tomorrow onwards, I will be the dean. The dean was so angry that his whole body was trembling and the wound on his shoulder was hurting badly. See and moo that bastard. He burned the bridge after crossing the river. How can this be considered as burning the bridge after crossing the river? It's just that you have lost your value. Yin Xiang sneered sarcastically. After he finished, he took a step forward and walked towards the dean. Dean, just accept your death obediently. Stop struggling. The more you struggle, it will only make yourself more painful. Bastard. The dean's face turned red as he retreated a few steps. Every movement, the wound on his shoulder became more and more tearing, and the pain was unbearable. It could be seen that Yin Xiang's palm strike just now was completely determined to take his life. Yin Xiang laughed sinisterly, looking at the usually aloof and arrogant dean in front of him. Such a sorry figure filled with fear. In his heart he couldn't be more pleased. From tomorrow onwards, everything that the dean had would belong to him. In future he would be the dean of the Heavenly Academy. He was going to kill this dean. Yin Xiang waved his palm again, and the force was extremely sharp. The dean was sweating profusely from the pain, and kept sucking in cold air. He turned sideways and somersaulted backwards to avoid that palm strike. A loud bang sound was heard. The memorial tablets were overturned by the palm strike. The candlelight also fell to the ground. The small house was suddenly pitch black. Faintly, there were only 2 small lamps hanging on the walls around the house, emitting a faint light. Their silhouettes flickered in and out of existence. That loud sound was extremely loud in the silent night sky. Yin Xiang's face sunk, worried that it would attract the patrolling guards. He immediately clapped his hands. Instantly, 4 people in black robes sprang out from the ground. Before the dean could react, those 4 people attacked towards the dean. Profound Yin Qi. Yi Qing Luo, who was nestled outside the window, her eyes widened as she witnessed this scene. Under the night sky, her charming eyes were like colored glass, extremely bright and resplendent. However, the few people in the chaotic battle did not notice this pair of bright eyes. Sure enough, they were from the dark forces. The remnants of the dark forces actually dared to appear in the Heavenly Academy. Those holy techniques, Pharaoh and whatnot. Were they planning to nurture the Heavenly Academy into their second force? To tell the truth, Yi Qing Luo wasn't surprised that Yin Xiang would betray the director. Yin Xiang was a petty person. His ambition was huge. He couldn't stand the unfair treatment. Once someone stepped on him, Yin Xiang would have the thought of stepping back. Therefore, it was very normal for Yin Xiang to betray the dean. However, did Yin Xiang really think that Si Yanmu would help him to become the principal? Yin Xiang had lived for most of his life, yet he was still so naive. She willingly became a young man's chess piece. If Yin Xiang knew, would he vomit blood in anger? Through the window, he looked at the 4 remnants of the dark forces fighting in Yin Xiang's dean. The dean was forced to retreat step by step, and his body was covered with wounds. He did not even have the strength to resist. Yi Qing Luo's finger touched her pink lips. Looking at the dean lying on the ground, Yin Xiang's palm strike was heading towards the dean's head. Chapter 2286. A ray of profound qi blocked the dean's face and forced Yin Xiang's attack back. Yin Xiang staggered slightly and was shocked. Who is it? The 4 surviving members of the dark forces quickly got into a defensive formation. They released their senses and looked around. The ancestral hall was silent. The dean was panting heavily. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Luckily he was all right. He was not dead. The dean got up from the ground and wanted to escape. Yin Xiang was sharp and lifted his leg to kick the dean's back. The dean was covered in wounds. How could he have the strength to resist? A heavy force came from behind. The dean's body flew out and fell face first onto the ground. You guys killed him. I'll go and see who is playing tricks. Yin Xiang's face was ashen. This was the most critical moment, and he would not allow any accidents to happen. He wanted to kill the dean. Then, he would wait for the position of the dean to fall on his head. The remaining dark forces nodded their heads vigorously. They raised the weapons in their hands and slashed down at the dean who was lying on the ground and unable to move. Swish, swish, swish. Another few rays of profound chi, like hidden weapons, knocked down the weapons of the remaining dark forces. Who is it? Get out here. Seeing that the principal was stopped from killing him time and time again, Yin Xiang nearly went mad from anger. He gritted his teeth and roared furiously. Then he quickly attacked in the direction where the profound chi had come from. But there was no one at the place where the palm wind searched. Kakik! The enchanting and clear laughter was extremely strange in this gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. Where are you hitting? The teasing laughter continued. Yin Xiang widened his eyes and looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a petite figure standing in front of the dean. That figure was covered with a large black robe, and he could not tell who it was. But he could tell that it was a woman. The woman's voice was also extremely unfamiliar. Yin Xiang was sure. The woman in front of him was very unfamiliar. Who are you? Yin Xiang frowned and snarled. How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Heavenly Academy? Are you tired of living? An elder from the elders' quarters murdered the dean of the Heavenly Academy. If this matter gets out, elder, I'm afraid you won't be able to live. The woman sneered as the corner of her mouth twitched. Yin Xiang's eyes were filled with killing intent. You want to threaten me? Very good. Since you came to seek death, this elder will kill you along with him. No matter who this woman was. As long as they were against him, he would kill them all. The woman's face was covered by the black robe, so it was impossible to see her face clearly. It was as if he had blended into the night. Yin Xiang could not see the woman's expression. However, he could clearly feel the woman's ridicule towards him. It seemed to be mocking him for overestimating himself. This woman, she was as disgusting as that slut Yi Qing Luo. Yin Xiang's eyes turned cold as he attacked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The 4 survivors, whose weapons had been knocked off their hands, quickly surrounded them and attacked. However, the woman had no intention to continue fighting with them. She bent over and as though she was carrying a piece of rubbish, she grabbed the dean's collar. Following that, the black robe fluttered. She had already disappeared into the small house. That speed was so fast that no one could detect it. Yin Xiang's heart trembled. Chase. Hurry up and chase. We absolutely cannot let them escape. If the dean wasn't dead, his murder charge, not only would he be chased out of the Heavenly Academy, Chapter 2287. No way. He could not let the dean leave the ancestral hall alive. Yin Xiang's eyes were filled with a crazy storm. He took out a black ball-like object from his bosom. This was given to him by Si Yin Mu. He was worried that he would encounter some obstacles and cause the plan to fail, so he gave him this as a backup life-saving item. Initially, he wanted to use this thing to kill those people in the elder quarters after he became the dean. But now he could only use it first. When he became the dean, he could kill whoever he wanted to. Yin Xiang threw the ball-like object to the ground and smashed it hard. With a bang, the ball-like object exploded. The black smoke swallowed up everything in the ancestral hall. The black smoke slowly, condensed into the shape of a person. Yin Xiang was dumbfounded and took a few steps back. However, the black smoke seemed to have solidified and stopped him in his tracks. The black humanoid figures were like walking corpses. Step by step, they walked towards Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang screamed out in fear. He turned around and wanted to escape. But those black fog-like things walked in front of Yin Xiang. One by one, they all bent down and bowed to Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang was stunned. After a long while, he seemed to be sure that those black fogs were not aggressive towards him. Yin Xiang then came back to his senses, squinted his eyes carefully, and looked at these monsters. He thought for a while in his mind and said tentatively, "You guys, quickly catch the dean and that woman just now. Don't let them escape." The black fog monsters raised their heads. They had no facial features, only a black fog face, facing Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang felt his heart trembling. Suddenly, he saw those black fog monsters, past him and chased in the direction where the dean was taken. That speed was like a gibbon, totally not as clumsy as when they walked towards Yunxiang. At least 40 black fog monsters were born. Only then did the surrounding black fog gradually dissipate. In just a moment, there was only Yunxiang left in the entire ancestral hall. Yunxiang stood there in a daze. He looked at the direction where the black fog monsters left in a daze. Gradually he opened his mouth and laughed out loud. This thing, it was too heaven-defying. Si Yanmu actually had such a powerful thing. The dean would definitely die. That woman would definitely die as well. The woman was Yiqing Luo, who was covered in a loose black robe, dragging the director as she speedily left the ancestral hall. Her actions were extremely rough. The dean was almost out of breath. He kept hitting her wrists, trying to make her loosen up a little. Unfortunately, under the attacks of Yunxiang and the 4 dark forces, the dean's body was already completely drained of strength. After a few tugs, the dean lost all his strength and slumped to the ground. The Heavenly Academy has its own enchantment device, and once they leave the enchantment of the ancestral hall, they would be detected by the Heavenly Academy the moment they use their profound qi. After Yiqing Luo left the ancestral hall, she retracted all her profound energy and directly displayed her footwork, turning left and right. There was no place to hide in the Heavenly Academy. Carrying a burden who had lost half his life. If he was caught by those few remaining evildoers, it would be very easy to alert the other people in the academy. Thinking about it, Yiqing Luo decisively dragged the director and dashed towards the direction of the Heavenly Training Forest. Chapter 2288. The dean panted heavily as he laid on the ground, unable to even move his fingers. Yiqing Luo frowned as she looked down at him. If you want to die in the hands of Yunxiang, then I will leave now. Just treat it as a waste of time to save a waste. Finishing her words, Yiqing Luo turned around to leave. Miss, the dean couldn't bear to let Yiqing Luo leave. Now Yiqing Luo was his only savior. If Yiqing Luo left and the people from Yunxiang caught up, he would definitely die. Miss, I don't have the strength. No strength to open the entrance. I will tell you the method. In order to survive, the dean could only betray the academy's secret. He didn't care who this lady was. What was the purpose of saving him? He only wanted to survive. Yiqing Luo slowly bent down. The dean told her the incantation to open the entrance. Yiqing Luo followed the incantation and quickly opened the entrance to the Heavenly Training Forest. Just as she was about to pull the dean in, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned cold. She sensed that countless strange forces were approaching rapidly. Furthermore, that power was extremely powerful. Were they from Yunxiang? Or were the dark forces reinforcements here? Without much time to think, Yiqing Luo immediately carried the dean and jumped into the entrance. The Heavenly Training Forest was usually in a forbidden state. The enchantment here had divided this place and the academy into 2 zones. Casting profound energy here would not be detected by the Heavenly Academy's enchantment equipment. Seeing the entrance of the Heavenly Training Forest was completely sealed, Yiqing Luo then threw the dean under a tree. She bowed her head, and under the black robe, only a pair of sharp eyes were revealed as she locked onto the dean. Do you want revenge? For the time being, she had no intention to let the dean die so easily. This dean position, Yiqing Luo had no intention to let the dean hand over now. Si Yanmu's plan could not succeed. The dean's facial features were twisted. Yes. If it's revenge, I can help you, but you have to promise me one thing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as her brows were filled with a cold intent. The dean remained silent for a moment and clenched his fist. What do you want me to do? Your academy's faculty council president has a small grudge with me. I know that Elder Yunxiang betrayed you because the faculty council president promised him to become the next principal. Yiqing Luo half squatted down and fished out a crystal clear pill. As for me, I just don't want faculty council president to get what he wants, so I saved you. The dean clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with hatred. Si Yanmu, I will definitely deal with him. I was the one who gave him the position of president. If he wants to take it back now, It will be a piece of cake. Heh, the dignified dean of the Heavenly Academy is so simple? Yi Qingluo sneered. Now even you don't understand the Heavenly Academy as well as Si Yanmu. After so many years, his foundation in the Heavenly Academy has long been solid. If I am not wrong, Si Yanmu's goal is to become the next dean. You and Yin Xiang are just pawns. The dean's expression abruptly changed. The medicine that Yi Qingluo had fed to him started to take effect. The dean suddenly sat up from the ground and punched the ground. How dare he? Yi Qingluo snorted disdainfully. This dean was really too naive. To the dean, she was now a stranger. She merely saved him. Did he really treat her as his savior? Did he believe her words without a doubt? But Chapter 2289. The dean's eyes were gloomy as he clenched his fists tightly. His veins popped out. What deal do you want to make with me? Yi Qingluo's lips curled up. Her eyes under the black robe were like a frozen sharp blade. Based on your current reputation in the school, I'm afraid you are no match for Si Yanmu. If you go back openly, Si Yanmu may bite back. The dean's face sunk. This was indeed the case. He was very clear about Si Yanmu's status in the school. If Si Yanmu were to bite back, even if he could escape today, he would not be able to escape tomorrow. What good ideas do you have? The dean could only pin his hopes on the lady who saved his life. Yi Qingluo smiled mysteriously. You and Si Yanmu have been working together for so many years, you should have something on him. The dean's throat tightened. How did you? His relationship with Si Yanmu. Not many people knew about it. Why would this strange lady know about this? You don't need to care about how I know, what else I know, and how much I know. In short, Si Yanmu is our common goal. Yi Qingluo replied calmly. Now that Yin Xiang has already collaborated with the dark forces, if the both of them were to insist that you're from the dark forces, then by then you won't be able to defend yourself. Are you certain that you still have the mood to guess my identity? The dean clenched his fists tightly. After a long while, he took a deep breath, raised his head and stared at her maliciously. Good. I will not ask about your identity. As long as I can sit on the dean's position and let Si Yanmu and Yin Xiang step down, I will not hesitate to cooperate with the devil. Devil? Yi Qingluo laughed in a low voice. In her laughter, there was a trace of indolent and seductive smile. This title suits me quite well then. You can call me devil. The dean's fists creaked. I have Si Yanmu's weakness in my hands, and the evidence that he is from the dark forces. Do you want me to make this evidence public? No. Yi Qingluo smiled faintly. If you make it public, what if Si Yanmu also comes up with the same evidence and bite back at you? He has the support of the dark forces. He can distort the truth at any time and point the spearhead to you. The president's face turned pale. What should I do? Since we have Si Yanmu's weakness and evidence, we need to make use of these things to their fullest potential. Yi Qingluo slowly got closer to the director as her voice was suppressed, filled with bewitchment. Yin Xiang making a move on you today is an opportunity to counterattack. Hearing Yi Qingluo's words, the director's expression slowly turned gloomy as a dense murderous intent kept surging in his eyes. Just as Yi Qingluo finished her last sentence, at the entrance of the heavenly training forest, an extremely loud collision sound was suddenly heard. Yi Qingluo's expression changed. They're catching up. Just a moment ago, the dean was still brimming with murderous intent. But now he immediately leaned against the tree trunk and slumped down. How could this be? Here, how did they find out? There's the presence of profound yin qi. Yi Qingluo frowned as her gaze locked onto the wound on the director's shoulder. She suddenly raised her hand and placed her palm on the dean's wound. The dean screamed in pain, his face pale. You. Don't think too much. If I wanted to take your life, you would have died a long time ago. Yi Qingluo half squatted down. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.